Everyone's hyping up this new dungeon map on DungeonCraft, the online game where users flex by creating their own dungeons. The map's a total beast, so naturally the losers start whining with the classic weak excuse that Kangchi, the guy who always snags first place like it's nothing, is some overpowered bot. Spoiler alert, he's not some untouchable gaming god. Nah, the dude's just chilling behind them at the cafe, munching on some sad excuse for food. Even his friends making that face like, bro, are you seriously eating that garbage? But our main dude's oddly into that nasty cafe grub. And just like that, with one hand casually shoveling food in, he snags first place again. Now even his friends starting to suss if Kangchi's actually a bot. People call him AI, and honestly, they're not far off. This gloomy dude's got zero interest in anything but games and designing maps. Basically a digital hermit with a joystick. Eventually Kangchi pieces out of the PC cafe because, believe it or not, he does touch grass sometimes. He's obsessed with games because real life is a brutal mess where he's got zero control. Like he can't even move some dumb telephone poles in real life. Don't ask why he wants to move poles, but in games he could totally wreck shop with those poles. Suddenly Truck-kun rolls up like some twisted deus ex machina ready to end his miserable reality. Our gloomy mushroom dude just stands there, ready to accept his fate, but the truck stops. Kangchi was low-key hoping for that isekai teleport, not a fatal truck smash. The driver yells at him for being an idiot and blocking the road, but Kangchi just points at the signal like a total deadpan, while the driver freaks out about missing the light change. Kangchi sighs, thinking how sick it would be if he could actually change stuff in real life like in games. Then just as he's daydreaming about crafting his own world, a metal beam drops from a crane about to squash a little girl. Without thinking, Kangchi's body moves on its own, rushing to shove the kid out of harm's way. The girl falls but is now traumatized for life by the meltdown she just witnessed. And even in the face of death, our gloomy MC's brain is busy complaining about how inconvenient real life is. Next thing he knows, he's plunging into a literal black hole, and some giant monster-like entity tells him it's time to face reality. Kangchi breaks character and demands an explanation. The entity just drops the standard "death is just a step to reincarnation" line. Kangchi looks totally dumbfounded, so the entity gives him a chance to recall his memories. Our guy asks for an easier explanation, but the entity just tells him to open his eyes. Boom. Kangchi wakes up screaming, startled as hell. Looking around, he realizes he's in a castle, and checking the mirror reveals he's rocking a completely different body. Being the nerd he is, he instantly knows he's been isekai'd. No denying it, the whole sensation is too real. He's fascinated, wondering where the hell he is, and more importantly, who the heck he's become. But before he can even mutter a thought, someone clearly not vibing with his rambling stabs a weapon through him. Kangchi's shocked, coughing up blood like a broken sprinkler. The girl hits him again, all hyped, asking if he's gonna kick the bucket now. Our MC can't even answer, looking like a beaten puppy. The girl gleefully says she's trying to unalive him because she hates him. Just as she's about to land another hit, a new guy swings in with a whip, knocking her weapon away. The gentle dude tells Caldera, the girl, to stop bullying their brother. He actually feels sorry for Kangchi getting roasted like that and hands him a drink. Kangchi gulps it down like it's water, assuming it's a healing potion, but the guy's side-eyeing him, thinking it's weird he's not hesitating. Then, surprise, Kangchi throws up the whole thing and realizes too late that he just drank poison. Caldera freaks out, worried he's gonna die because she wanted to off him herself, while the other guy's bummed because his poison recipe only caused pain instead of a quick death. Meanwhile, Kangchi is just sitting there wondering why life's gotta be such a cruel joke. Suddenly the door swings open and a random mob announces that Demon King Hel Khaldun is back from his hero hunt. The other two immediately call him father, so Kangchi leans in for a closer look and realizes the Demon King is actually Daddy, who's clearly not a fan of hearing weak moaning sounds. Caldera immediately apologizes, but Daddy grabs both white-haired demons, lecturing them that the pathetic cries of the weak are a disgrace, echoing through the Demon King's castle walls. Meanwhile, our MC finally puts two and two together. Those two terrorizing him are his siblings, and the Demon King is his dad. Daddy Demon then declares he only wants to hear the roar of a great demon being born and the sound of an honorable death. To prove the latter, he does something brutal that leaves his three kids coughing for their lives. Somehow Kangchi survives the carnage. So yeah, he did get reincarnated into another world, but turns out he's the Demon King's son. And something tells him that being the spawn of the Demon King is gonna be one hell of a wild ride. Buckle up, because this life's about to get savage. The young Kella cries out, claiming that Caldera poked his eye with a fork. His mother responds with pity, prompting him to add that Tarme poisoned his food. But his mother, who's nothing short of a hardcore mommy type, tells him to pay them back like a demon. Kella panics, saying he'd be deleted from existence if he did that. The cruel mother, however, coldly tells him to just delete them first before they can act against him. Kella looks stunned, like he just got schooled in Parenting 101. His mother then shares a brutal tale. His father eliminated 12 of his own brothers to become the Demon Lord, so Kella should follow in those ruthless footsteps. To drive the point home, she pulls out a weapon and stabs her own son, calmly teaching him the true ways of demons. Kella jolts awake from this terrifying memory. Despite his yelling, his maid stays totally chill. Slowly he regains his composure and notices that the injuries on his body have completely healed, showing that this Kella has insane regenerative abilities. His maid sighs, commenting that he's slept for quite a while, and it's already time for the family meal. Kella's memories fill in that this robot-like girl is his personal servant, Rin, but even Rin looks down on him. When he asked her to help him dress like the other demons, she straight up blackmailed him, demanding he help her dress in return. She made him do the laundry while she lounged on his bed like she owned the place. Once she even sent a doll to work in her place. Kella can't wrap his head around how the owner of this body lets a servant boss him around, especially when he's the son of the demon lord. Now he realizes he's been helplessly bullied all along. This reincarnated life isn't much different from his past one, where the weak get wiped out. As soon as Kella reaches the table, the daddy demon deadpans that he's late. Daddy's presence is so intense that Kella just apologizes and takes his seat quietly. But then Kella kicks a dagger at him, stabbing his leg efficiently. Kella winces while the girl smugly tells him to eat well. Knowing it won't end well if his identity is exposed, Kella thanks her for the advice. But the moment he takes a bite, he realizes the food is poisoned. That's when Tarme chimes in, claiming the soup was made especially for him. Poor Kella ends up agreeing that the soup is very delicious. Now he fully understands that these family demons care about him only in name, and he refuses to let them bully him any longer. He's always wanted to achieve something on his own. With that mindset, he became the strongest map designer in the game. But in real life, he was powerless, and he refuses to die so helplessly again. So Kella grabs the soup bowl, dares Caldera to taste it, and pulls out the dagger to show Tarme Caldera's present. This shocks the Demon King, but Kella isn't finished. He flips the entire table, declaring that demons don't need family mealtimes. The other three are just as shocked as Kella is fired up. Our boy feels amazing after his first outburst, even though he gets beaten half to death afterward. Still, he recovers fully in no time. He can feel a foreign power coursing through him as the Demon Lord's son, but he wonders just how strong this ability really is. Soon after, Rin nags him about his demonic power lesson as usual, but Kella shuts her up so hard she loses her color. Meanwhile, Kella recalls from the owner's memories that this lesson was one of the worst experiences the previous Kella went through, but skipping class is off the table, right? The instructor announces that Kella's siblings won't be joining the lecture. Standing in a straight line, Kella remembers how all these classmates used to bully him under the pretense of practicing for the lesson. These demons treated bullying him like a game. Kella even encouraged the others to show their true power, giving them free rein to beat Kella to a pulp. The old Kella never wanted to fight back, so he took it all. But Kella was never physically weak, just soft-hearted. Now everything's different. The current owner of this body is ready to use that strength properly, and no one's gonna push him around anymore. As soon as the instructor drones on with the class, this obnoxious red-haired demon pops off, bragging that he and Kella were sparring last session. He throws shade, mocking that he should have shown some respect to Kella, but oops, forgot. Classic lame move. Kella's mind screaming curses at this clown, but he's too chill to throw hands just yet. The two idiots line up for the sparring match, with the red demon puffing up like he's some big shot. Meanwhile, the audience is basically betting on Kella to break down and cry again like the joke he's been all along. Kella's eyes scan the laughing faces, and bam, he's hit with the brutal truth. This life is just like his last one. No cash, no power, everyone treating him like trash. But that's ancient history now, because guess what? He's about to go full Super Saiyan on their sorry faces. The crowd's jaws drop when the crybaby they all laughed at suddenly flexes some serious muscle. Even the demon standing across from him is frozen stiff, probably scared his sorry self might get wiped out. Kella's all cocky, saying he'll go easy and only throw one punch. Yeah, right. That single punch is so devastating it leaves everyone shook. Even the useless instructor is practically wetting his pants because the red demon's getting wrecked hard. Kella lays down the law, reminding everyone he's the Demon King's son and deserves some damn respect. The squishy demon stammers out an apology, but Kella warns him to never mess up in front of him again. The whole class and the instructor are trembling, but Kella just tells them to keep the class going like nothing happened. Rin watches all this madness and thinks Kella's officially lost his marbles. Meanwhile, Demon Daddy's lurking in the shadows, watching Kella demolish his classmates like it's primetime entertainment. Cut to the castle, where Caldera's screeching like a banshee that she can't forgive Kella for chucking poisonous soup at her. Yeah, these two siblings are chilling in a magical bath together like it's no big deal. Everyone's pretending it's normal, but the real focus is on healing, since neither of them has Kella's ridiculous regen powers. Caldera's acting like a total drama queen about it, but Tarme suspects Kella's undergone some serious transformation. When Kella snapped at dinner, the whole kingdom's jaws dropped, but the Demon King actually smiled for once, which is basically a cosmic event. Now Caldera's whining about Daddy smiling for Kella, and even Tarme admits that's super weird, so he suggests they ditch their sibling rivalry and team up to focus on taking Kella down. Caldera's surprisingly on board, so they plot to wipe Kella out before he can cozy up to the Demon King again. Back in class, Kella's stunned when the projection of the previous Demon King Turk shows up. He thinks this guy looks straight up demonic, and the instructor keeps going, explaining how Turk was the strongest back in the day, but got played by some sneaky scheme from the Heaven Guild. Since then, all these opportunistic guilds have been creeping around the Demon Kingdom like vultures. This info gets drilled into Kella's brain. Turns out those guilds are the reason he couldn't even escape the castle. Kella locks in on the lecture as the instructor warns that humans are gearing up to attack the kingdom, so everyone needs to level up fast and back Demon King Hell. The class erupts in hype, but Kella just stares blankly, cold as ice. Later he's staring out at the horizon, plotting his escape because staying put is basically signing his death warrant. He checks with Rin and finds out his father's heading out in 3 days. Kella casually drops that the castle's got a major weak spot. Rin thinks he's being weird again, but Kella's dead serious. No map architect is helping them use the terrain to their advantage. Those guilds are sneaking in through the Forgotten Territories, exploiting the kingdom's blind spots. So he's decided to spend the time before his dad's next trip mapping out the whole area. His plan is to help his father crush every last one of those pests, and of course make his escape while he's at it. It's time to officially plan his escape, and Kella gets to flex his creativity by making the map however he wants. Since this place isn't bound by boring reality, he orders Rin to cook up a secret office in the castle basement, claiming he needs a workspace where his overbearing dad won't snoop. But little does he know the hot Demon King's got eyes like a hawk, and suspects Kella's up to some shady business. He decides to play detective and check it out himself before things get messy. Kella isn't impressed one bit by the scrappy excuse Rin shows off as his secret office. She's all teary, whining that this is the best she could do since she had to keep it on the down low. But Kella throws shade hard, scolding her mostly because he needs the space to scream his dominance periodically, and this sorry setup just won't cut it. Rin, half sobbing, thinks this isn't the Kella she used to know because he's gotten scary and cool, and it low-key messes with her heart. Kella scolds her for the obvious staring, and snaps an order for her to get him a cup of coffee. Once Rin bounces, Kella studies the map and mutters that this castle's got zero hope or ambition. Clearly, he's gotta whip up his own map to turn this place around. Meanwhile, Rin's running around like a headless chicken looking for coffee until it hits her. She has no clue what coffee even is. Just then the Demon King pops up, questioning why she's wandering without Kella. Her weird reaction sets off his suspicion, so he presses her for info. She stammers under the pressure, looking like she's gonna spill everything. Back in his not-so-secret office, Kella's living his best life, geeking out over map making because this world feels like a game, and making maps is basically his only joy. But the fun's cut short when the Demon King crashes the party, quite literally. Before Kella can even blink, his dad shoves a bare hand right into Kella's stomach, thinking his son's plotting to off him. Kella spews blood because apparently the Demon King's flexing some next-level power this time, and suddenly fears he's about to kick the bucket. Desperately clutching the map, Kella dangles it in front of the Demon King, while still held up by that brutal grip. He explains the outskirts of the castle suck majorly for their guild battles, but if they tweak the geography like he's drawn it, it'll seriously boost their chances. The Demon King finally lets go and grills Kella about why he's been so secretive. Kella, trying to gut it out through the pain, admits he wasn't allowed to help the big boss directly, so he wanted to surprise him with results once the map was done. The Demon King glares hard, but Kella throws down that he wants to actually help exterminate Heaven as the son of the Demon King. They lock eyes like warriors, while Rin's on the edge, worrying if Kella's about to get shredded. Finally, the Demon King asks how long Kella needs to finish the map, looking ridiculously fierce and hot, even with a bloodied hand. Kella, surprised his dad actually gets maps, beams, and says 5 will do. The Demon King drops the fact check that Heaven's reassembling in 3 days, so the map might be useless then. But Kella claps back confidently, saying he'll have it done in 5 freaking hours. The Demon King's mind is blown, but then he flashes a small smile and orders Kella to finish it, warning him that if he's all talk, he'll tear him and the map to shreds. Kella basks in the win, thinking he just leveled up big time. But the victory is cut short as he coughs up more blood, annoyed that his dad was legit planning to off his own son. Rin is touched by the success but gets yelled at to haul him to the medroom ASAP. True to his word, Kella nails the map in 5 hours, and the Demon King's forces jump into construction mode right away. Mages set up illusion magic around the construction zone and the transformed area to keep humans clueless. Like magic straight out of a game, Kella's plan unfolds perfectly. Meanwhile, at Heaven Guild's assembly, the guildmaster Hermison gets the heads up about demons using illusion magic to alter terrain. His subordinate suggests attacking, but the old man shuts it down. He's convinced it's pointless. In 3 days, Talawa's strongest squad, Takon, is rolling in, packing the weirdest dragon anyone's ever seen. Hermison reminisces about how Talawa started building Takon decades ago, and now the elite squad is finally ready. The old guy's convinced demons can't stand a chance against this powerhouse crew. As expected, Takon marches toward the Demon King's castle. General Killman fires up the troops with some hardcore hype, while his subordinates shout along, pumped. The only woman on the team props up Killman's leadership and reassures jittery minions that unlike other guilds, they're the real deal, ready to crush the Demon King for good. The Demon King, begrudgingly admitting that Kella wasn't just yapping trash about the map, realizes it's not perfect, but honestly, his body's screaming like he's been hit by a truck. He can't afford to be picky now. Especially with tomorrow being the ultimate showdown with heaven. It's like he's been grinding all day with zero energy left, but quitting isn't even on the table. Meanwhile, the mages and monsters are hustling hard, grinding through Kella's plan like pros. This isn't some lame game where you just click and drag here, they literally bend the land to their will. It's a whole different flex. Now, all that's left is the epic showdown between Hell and Heaven, where Kella is about to prove his map-making skills aren't just beginner level. On battle day, Talkin strolls into the guild like he's the main character arriving late to the party. The old man's there, nodding along to everything Killman says like he's the hype man in this circus. They start shouting about smashing the demon world to pieces, hyping everyone up like it's the hottest drop on the block. Suddenly, a random blue thing appears on the ground, catching everyone so off guard they might as well have been hit by a sneak attack from a noob. Killman instantly calls for a defensive formation like a drill sergeant, ready to flex some muscle. A flash and smoke cloud the scene, but what really slaps their minds is the Demon King himself teleporting right into the middle of their turf like, bro, talk about crashing the party uninvited. Turns out Kella pulled a slick move, yanking down the barrier that Heaven used to stalk them with. Now teleportation is his new cheat code. No limits, no cooldown. Hella debates it for a second, but Kellera and Tarme throw serious shade, calling teleporting into the enemy base straight dumb, even for their so-called father. Hell doesn't care for their salty attitude and shuts them up with pure intimidation vibes, then locks in on attacking the heart of the enemy base like a boss. No weak sauce here. In full Super Saiyan mode, the Demon King is set to wipe everyone out like a one-man wrecking crew. Killman, hyped like a hype beast, brags about being talking some more and orders his squad to go beast mode. So the classic one versus many showdown kicks off, with the Demon King flexing hard on all of them. Back at the castle, Kella rallies his demon squad with a battle cry that basically screams "Get wrecked." The demons roar and launch a savage ambush on the guild forces, who scatter like scared little NPCs caught off guard. Watching the chaos unfold, Kella smirks, feeling that everything is clicking perfectly into place. This plan is straight fire, but Keldra and Tarme aren't having any of it. They stalk up on Kella when he's alone, clearly salty and ready to throw down. Tarme lashes out with a poisonous whip, demanding Kella just kick the bucket already. Kella's frozen like a stunned noob, unable to even move a finger. Tarme urges Keldera to follow up and she rushes in like a savage, slicing off Kella's head cleanly like it's a routine move. The siblings laugh like villains in a trashy anime, soaking up the drama of Kella's last epic fail as his thoughts fade out. Kella's head gets sliced clean off and both his head and body crash down the castle walls, smashing onto the solid ground below like some tragic, over-the-top finale. He grunts in pain, giving his twisted siblings the grim satisfaction of his exit. Tarme, all pumped to go help their father, suddenly gets stabbed in the back literally by Keldera, who flashes a dagger and compliments him on his quick wit. Tarme, clearly not amused, reminds her they're supposed to avoid their mother's weapons, but Keldera just shrugs like, rules. Since when have demons ever given a damn about rules? Tarme's disbelief is almost cute, but Celdera's got her eyes on the prize. Once she offs Tarme, she'll be the last successor standing. Tarme grits his teeth, launching into an attack, but Celdera's no sitting duck, and the two clash fiercely right there. Down below, Kella watches the sibling smackdown with a mix of disbelief and dry sarcasm like, seriously, how much more brutal can they get? Just when it looks like Kella's done for, the ground beneath him splits open, and Rin swoops in like a total boss, catching both his head and body under the basement. She's working frantically to stick the pieces back together. It's her big redemption arc, no doubt. Meanwhile, the battle between humans and demons rages on at full throttle. Both sides are throwing down hard, fighting tooth and nail for honor and survival. Even the weird-looking dragon joins in, spewing fire like it's auditioning for a fantasy movie. The Demon King, hyped by the dragon's presence, literally latches onto it and rips its head clean off with his bare hands. Talk about savage flex. Killman loses his damn mind over his pet's gruesome death and orders every last soldier to attack with everything they've got. The humans go all in against the monsters and the Demon King, thinking they've finally cooked the big bad guy. But nope, the Demon King just levels up into his ultimate form, and Killman, begrudgingly impressed, admits this transformation is textbook. The woman on the battlefield is shook, but when one of her subordinates starts whining about body tremors, she snaps everyone out of their fear. Though honestly, if Killman's shaking, you can bet the rest of them are ready to soil their pants. As the Demon King locks eyes with the humans, he muses that the only flaw in Kella's plan is the trap they've walked into. Yes, they've brought their forces to the heart of Heaven's base, but there's no way out. He caught this flaw early on but couldn't voice it after all. A Demon King can't be seen stressing about an escape route. Hell guesses Kella probably factored that in too, but right now, who cares? The goal is to wipe out every human right here and now. Killman shouts orders to pump up his troops, and the battle crashes back into full chaos. Back at the castle, Rin is desperately pressing Kella's head onto his body, hoping this Frankenstein experiment actually works. Turns out Kella's been slicing up his own body parts and reattaching them to test his powers. Talk about hardcore self-experimentation. She helped him with a detached arm earlier, and it healed like new, but the head? That's a whole different level of risky. Kella warns her to be extra careful cutting it, because one slip could be game over. Once his head is back on properly, Kella orders Rin to find Keldera's servant and pass a message. He's planning an ambush on Keldera while the Demon King is busy fighting. Rin delivers the message, and the other servant goes full rage mode. Rin slyly suggests slicing Kella's head off to finish him for good, because let's be real, no matter how fast he heals, losing your head is kind of a big deal. Rin grits her teeth, proud she followed the plan, but low-key worried none of it matters if Kella bites the dust now. Just as her inner tsundere side unlocks, Kella jolts awake. This time he really thought he was done for, but maybe the mana-infused dagger slowed his recovery. Either way, everything's still rolling according to plan. Time to keep flexing that Demon King energy. Kella's back to life and Rin, totally losing it, clings to him like her existence depends on it. Seriously, she's grabbing on like a drowning person, clutching a life raft. It's Kella's first time being touched by a girl in both of his lives, so he immediately pushes her away, like yo, get off me, and cancels her servant contract, giving her the freedom she didn't even know she wanted. Rin's left completely shell-shocked, but Kella doesn't waste time with the drama. He straight up tells her to live her life how she wants, now that she's finally free. Rin watches him walk away like a lost puppy, memories flooding back to when he told her to be his friend instead of his servant. Naturally, she starts crying and sticks to him like a stubborn leech, even though he's clearly trying to avoid her like the plague. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Killman's throwing shade hard, calling Hell a monster for still standing tall and proud, despite looking like he just lost a fight with a truck, like a true final boss who refuses to quit. It's maddening, but Killman knows there's no way he can take down the Demon King. No human's got the guts or the power to stop this walking disaster of a demon. The Demon King, glancing over the battlefield, notices that both sides are nearly wiped out. He figures his 3 kids won't be making an appearance, but honestly he couldn't care less since this was his fight from the jump. Using the last of his mana, he unleashes a massive blast to end everything in true over-the-top epic fashion. Back at the secret passage, Kella and Rin are sprinting toward the exit, and Kella's hyped. Finally, he's gonna break free from the Demon King's castle. But Rin, all alert and stuff, suddenly blocks a magic attack out of nowhere. Apparently she sniffed out the trap thanks to a strong scent of blood, like a bloodhound on steroids. Just as expected, a human team is lurking at the passage's end, ready to annihilate anyone dumb enough to come through. Kella suddenly realizes the humans were never in the dark about the secret pathway. Sneaky much. The 3 mages start their assault, but Rin steps up and blocks the attacks with a shield, telling Kella to run. When he asks what the plan is, she just drops the classic "I'm your servant and my job is to protect you" line. But everyone knows Rin's defense magic is about as offensive as a wet noodle, so it's pretty clear she's gearing up to be the sacrificial lamb so Kella can make it out alive. She urges him to hurry, but Kella isn't having any of it. He grabs her and tosses her aside like no way she is dying in front of him if she want to keep tagging along. On the flip side, the human mages are all cocky, thinking Kella's the weakest link in the Demon King's castle. They've got it all wrong. Kella's always been the shy type, who never flexed his powers, so their intel is basically fake news. Even Rin's jaw drops at his actual strength, so it's a shocker to the humans that some low-mana demon is blitzing them faster than the speed of sound. After wiping the floor with a mage, Kella casually tells them to check their sources next time before roasting him with a mana overload. Rin's stunned while the mages fuss about him supposedly being the weakest demon, clearly not ready for the reality check. Kella tries to set them straight, but they're like, nah, we got this, and launch a light spear spell, a desperate move that drains all their mana in one go, so if it misses, they're toast. Rin rushes forward to block the attack, but she can't handle it all, so she and Kella end up taking the full brunt of the blast. Kella notices he can't move, and Rin's apologizing for failing to protect him. The mages, running on empty, decide to finish them off, but one low-life mage wants to have some fun with Rin first. She snaps at them, but the human shuts her up with the tip of his blade. Kella sees the ugly truth. Humans are just trash everywhere you go. The guy steps up, dead set on ending the Demon King's bloodline. Kella can see the exit, freedom right there, and he can't wrap his head around dying here like some extra in a bad movie. Just as the sword is about to fall, Rin screams out, but Kella is frozen, mesmerized by the eerie purple energy swirling in front of him like some wild plot twist about to drop. Kella eyes the swirling purple energy like a hawk spotting a juicy meal, feeling that something big is barreling toward him. But man, he did not see the Demon King hell popping up right in his grill like some unwanted pop-up ad. Kella's brain almost short-circuits, wondering if the dude already wrapped up his fight because seriously, if that's the case, his whole plan just got yeeted into the trash. Hell starts running his mouth about how he's been through enough battles to be basically the OG of demon slaying, and how he's thought through every single angle. Kella's stunned into silence, but his old man keeps going, dragging down Caldera as a zero who doesn't give two flips about her own demon squad, and dragging Tarme's ambition through the mud like he's some wannabe king with no drive. Kella couldn't care less about his siblings. Honestly, they're like background noise at this point. He cuts to the chase, asking why the big boss Demon King himself just showed up in his personal space. Heal breaks it down like a boss, saying a Demon King's got the sickest legacy power move where he can pass his mana down his bloodline before kicking the bucket. And guess what? Heal's got his eyes set on Kella as the prime candidate to be the next legend, the Demon King. Kella tries to play it cool, telling Heal he's tripping, but Heal's not having any of it. He starts chanting like he's casting the ultimate spell, ready to dump every last drop of his mana into Kella. The kid's about to throw a fit, and tells him to cut it out just as a purple orb zooms his way, but Hell just stares like he's proud as hell, telling his son not to shed any tears but to step up and become a legit demon. Then boom, just like a savage mic drop, Demon King Hell's head rolls on the battlefield. A woman confirms it with her own two eyes, but the price is that the General Killman gave up the ghost for it, leaving her shattered like broken glass. Meanwhile, the rest of the troops only catch one thing. They think the Demon King's toast and start partying like they won the lottery. Little do these clowns know, a fresh Demon King is brewing right under their noses. Kella's mana explodes, scattering those light spears like they're nothing, leaving everyone around slack-jawed and shook. The kid's laughing with all the smug energy of someone who just pulled off a flawless heist. Like, is he secretly Aizen from Bleach, or what? The mages, now fresh out of juice, want to ghost, but Kella pushes Rin back because he's feeling that infinite abyss of darkness thanks to the power Hell just threw at him. He flashes back to the trash talk those losers threw at Rin earlier, and with his new power, he wipes the floor with them in one swift move. Kella's low-key impressed by Hell's power, but damn, this energy is wrecking his body since it's not used to carrying this much heat yet. He checks in with Rin to see if she's good to go, then starts hauling out of there. Before leaving, he drops a sincere thanks to Hell because without that dude's power boost, escaping the demon castle would have been a no-go. Once they're out in the open, Kella takes a deep breath, soaking in the sweet taste of freedom, hyped that he can finally roam wherever, live however, and just be. But hold up, out of nowhere, a blue light locks onto him, revealing itself as a teleport spell. Caught off guard but not totally shook, Kella grabs Rin's hand as the light zaps them away, dropping them in front of a well-established city. Total unknown territory for the pair, and definitely not on their GPS. Kella and Rin wander around like a couple of clueless toddlers who've just escaped a daycare disaster. Rin suspects Kella pulled some teleportation magic stunt, but Kella waves off the idea like it's some weak excuse from a noob. Putting two and two together, Rin deduces it's more like some super cringe alarm spell their dad Hell slapped on his kids just in case he kicked the bucket. Rin notices all her injuries have magically vanished, which sparks the realization that they've been stuck in this teleportation bubble for a solid 3 days. Kella's pretty convinced Hell cooked up this setup on purpose, so his spawn could heal up when crap hits the fan. So basically, it's a combo move, a healing spell with some teleportation flair. Gotta hand it to Hell, maybe he wasn't the worst dad out there despite everything. But he's dead now and Kella's low-key relieved that his lame plan actually worked. Out of nowhere, Rin drops a bomb and asks Kella to step up as the next Demon King. She's somehow picked up on his glow-up and insists he's the only boss fit for the throne. She pledges to be his ride or die until he's crowned. Kella's thinking, "Girl, you seriously misread the room," but he shrugs and tells her to do whatever since his crew's looking like a ghost town right now. Rin suddenly freezes, spotting the magic country of Arsal right in front of them like a neon sign screaming danger here. This place breeds talent with one goal: to obliterate demons. Yeah, not exactly a vacation spot for the underworld crowd. The city gates sport a banner announcing that Demon King Hell Kalden has kicked the bucket. Talk about a giant do not enter sign for demons. They waste no time throwing on transformation magic like it's a bad cosplay, trying to blend in before anyone peeps them. Kella's itching for a crash course on the place, so Rin spills the tea. Arsal is a tiny island nation blessed by some colossal cryptid named Watergore lurking in the nearby sea. This blessing sparked magic growth and churned out some seriously powerful mages. They've been demon haters for ages, one of Taula's territories with zero chill for demonkind. Kella's baffled about why his dad sent him straight into the lion's den. Rin snaps him back to reality, reminding him they need to bounce, not tour the place like clueless tourists. Kella points out that ditching the scene ain't that simple. Running away takes game plan energy. To crush it in this world, you gotta master magic. Everything here is powered by magic. Some buildings are straight up floating like they're on drone steroids. Kella dreams of leveling up his magic skills here to build more insane structures than he ever could in his old game world. Rin's stomach suddenly growls like it's auditioning for a horror movie, so they decide to hunt for some grub. But Rin attacks the food like she's a kid at a candy store for the first time, gobbling down like it's the last meal on Earth. Kella's low-key thinking he should ditch her somewhere, but she drags him to a magic bar where the whole place is lit up celebrating the Demon King's demise. The mage Sreels is footing the bill tonight, so Rin and Kella dive into the party vibes hard, getting plastered like it's their last night on the planet. However, Sreels catch sight of these two cuties, and she's looking at them like she's looking at her next prey. Kella pukes his guts out, while Rin scolds him for drinking so much despite being a lightweight, and despite it being the celebration of the death of the Demon King. However, Kella reminds her that it was her who dragged him to the bar in the first place. Suddenly, everyone in the tavern starts running out, yelling that there's a new S-rank quest. Even Rin is shocked to hear that because until now the Demon King hunt was the only S-rank quest. She is curious, so she drags Kella into the town square once again. Turns out the S-rank quest is about the children of the Demon King, and they even included Kella, who is looking like a beaten puppy in his wanted poster. Kella protests about being the target after the death of the Demon King, but Rin slaps his mouth shut in time and gives the lame excuse that he is just drunk. Everyone starts talking trash about Kella for being the weakest demon, and think this quest should be a B rank at most. Kella curses, but he knows he needs to lay low if he wants to survive, so he turns away from the crowd and Rin almost calls his name. She asks what to call him in public. Kella gives it a thought and tells her to call him Shiwu. Rin makes a face about the strange name, prompting Kella to pop a vein as well. They never expected that people would realize so quickly that he is still alive, so they decide to get what they want from here and leave. However, they come across Sreel, who starts by making small talk about the S-rank quest. The two keep the reply short because they heard people call her the Hope of Arsal, so she is no ordinary person. Sreel curses the demons, but he points out that Kella is a weak demon, so they don't need to worry. Sreel looks at them and grabs both of them and asks if it really would not be a big deal that the Demon King's son is still alive. Moreover, she says she noticed that they smell kind of strange. Both Kella and Rin fear that they definitely caught them, but Sreel's giggles as she says that they are traveler, who have not taken a bath in a while. She suggests washing up at her place, leaving both of them dumbfounded, and agreeing to her kind offer. At Sreel's house, Kella enjoys hot spring water, a nice cup of tea and snacks that he has never had before. He has always wanted to live in the world of games, so it is like a dream come true. So this is Kai thing is not too bad after all. However, things are not so flowery at Rin's end, because she is currently sharing a bath with Sreels. The mage notes that Rin is nervous and jokes around that she is like a demon who got caught. Rin laughs it off, but Sreels still decides to use a scent to help her relax. However, Rin grits her teeth because Sreels is using the holy element, the worst scent for demons since it takes away their mana. It's gonna undo her disguise spell, so she desperately wants Kella's help. Sreels starts whining about her endless miseries, but Rin's only focus is escaping the stench of that so-called holy element, like it's some lethal gas attack. Sreels goes on about how she was destined to be a mage since birth, gearing up to unload her tragic backstory. But Rin, clearly not in the mood for a pity party, physically shuts that down and bolts like her life depends on it. Behind her, Sreels chuckles, probably amused that Rin's delicate nose couldn't handle the holy aroma. Like seriously, who knew a scent could be so deadly? Rin bumps into Kella outside the bathrooms, cool and fresh after a chill bath, and spills that her disguise was nearly blown. She explains Sreels tried to use that holy stink as a weapon, but Kella just shrugs it off. Deciding to play it safe, he opts for another bath before making a move. Rin's all about the quick escape, but Sreels, ever the party crasher, catches wind of this and reminds them about the second round with her. Rein insists they need to bounce, but Sreels counterattacks with talk of magic food, dragging Kella back into the drama like a clingy ex. Outside Sreel's place, the mage squad rolls in, buzzing with excitement because they've got the hot tip that the Demon King's kid is hiding there. This is like the ultimate jackpot for them, so naturally they're hyped to the max. Inside, Sreeli serves up drinks brewed from holy water that scorch demons like molten lava. Talk about a brutal happy hour. She's dead set on spilling her sob story again, starting with her time in the Talkin squad, where she trained hard to take down the Demon King. She claims to have battle scars from back then, but Rin's got receipts. Those scars were nowhere to be seen in the bath. Sreels then drops the bomb that she's missing an eye, cleverly camouflaged with magic because of course painful memories need to be hidden in style. Turns out their tough training was basically abuse dressed up as discipline. They were forced to get up and keep fighting through blood and pain, all for the glory of defeating the Demon King. Their trainer was one of those motivational nightmare types, yelling at them to shout their goals like it was some twisted cheer squad. Sreels is still bitter about sacrificing her entire life and getting those scars for the cause. She sidles up to Kella, eyeballing his battle scars, and even pulls up his shirt to inspect. What she finds is smooth skin and muscles harder than her attitude, but she keeps pretending to check him out, creeping on his pecs like it's a weird flex. Rin and Kella are dying inside because Sreel's touch is slowly unraveling Kella's disguise. It could have been a steamy moment, but nope. She just whispers the savage truth that he's a demon. Out of nowhere, an army of mice storms the scene and magically transforms into mages, Cinderella style. Rin and Kella immediately freak out, convinced they've walked right into a trap, while Sreels plays hostess like it's a casual get-together. But plot twist, the mages spot her scars and instantly accuse Sreels of being a demon spy infiltrating Arsal. That's a shocker for Kella and Rin, who never once doubted her. Talk about blind loyalty gone wrong. Then Searles whips out her staff and drops the ultimate mic. She was the one who leaked the intel that she's a demon. The mages launch an all-out assault, but Sartles is no rookie. She's an elite Talkin mage, and a dozen of these Arsal wannabes are no match for her. Kella and Rin brace for the chaos, but Sartles stands tall like an unbreakable wall, shielding them as if it's no big deal. Both are stunned by her unexpected protection, only for Sartles to blow their minds further by confessing she already knows they're demons. And then the kicker, she reveals her true identity, the Demon King Hell's own daughter, Sartles Khaldun. Talk about dropping a truth bomb that leaves everyone shook. Sartles drops the ultimate family bomb by revealing she's the daughter of the Demon King Hell, leaving Kella totally shook. He just found out he's got a long-lost sister out of nowhere. Searles wastes no time and decides to hit them with her memory transfer magic to spill the entire origin saga. The story kicks off with Hell pulling off some mad scientist moves, creating a demon who could hide her horns and demonic powers like a supernatural ninja. She immediately senses the king's presence, but then Hell drops the mic. His blood flows through her veins. So yeah, she's technically his daughter. Talk about a plot twist that slaps harder than your favorite binge-worthy drama. Naturally, she's stunned. She's been nothing but a lab rat since birth, subjected to daily hellish experiments, and all she could do was grit her teeth and suffer. After all her fellow demon babies croaked, she figured she'd be next. But nope, the Demon King himself confirms her royal bloodline, which is supposed to be some kind of honor. Hell crowns her Searles Khaldun and orders her to act as his spy, infiltrating heaven to snitch on their secrets. Searles, like a true soldier, takes it all in stride, accepting her fate from her father and king. Later, the humans find her beaten up, but surprise, it's all part of her grand espionage act as the Demon King's spy. She claws her way up the ranks to Talua as a mage of Arsal, enduring every hellish trial thrown her way, until she finally becomes one of the fiercest warriors in the Talkin squad. 15 years later, she finally sees Hello again, ready to sprint into his arms. But she can't, not until everyone except Kilman is dead. Her mission is to secretly sabotage the Talkin squad with magic to back her father's plan, hold the line until General Kilman falls, then return to the castle for her big happy ending beside Hell. But as usual, life throws a curveball. Kilman turns out way tougher than expected, and both sides go all out with their ultimate attacks in a massive explosion. In that chaos, Searles hears Hell call her daughter one last time, ordering her to serve the next Demon King, and protect him to the bitter end. And just like that, Hell vanishes. Poof. Gone, leaving Searles shattered, staring at his lifeless remains. With no other choice, Searles drags herself back to Talua. The entire continent throws a massive party celebrating the Demon King's death for the first time in forever, but Searles is drowning in her own misery. She retires from the battlefield and retreats to Arsal, her second home, ready to start her mission for her father's legacy, revenge. So yeah, she's basically got some serious daddy issues and a vendetta against humanity that would make any soap opera villain jealous. Even Rin is stunned by the drama, and Kella curses his luck. He thought he'd finally escaped the twisted demon family tree, only to get hit with another surprise sister. Lucky him. At least Searles has a tiny bit of sense. She's not about to force her demon siblings into submission, but warns them straight up. Arsal is a ticking time bomb as a magic powerhouse, and the longer it exists, the quicker Kella's toast. Kella gets it. Mages have always been a game changer, literally and figuratively. So yeah, if they let Arsal run wild, he's the one on the chopping block. Meanwhile, the mages start throwing a fit over credit and launch a full-blown mana assault. Kella, pissed off that they attacked them even while disguised as humans, snaps and drops the disguise. Searles is floored. She can literally feel her father's power radiating from Kella. This just went from complicated family reunion to full-blown supernatural showdown, real quick. Kella and Searles go all out in a relentless battle while Rin is left playing the background role, probably wishing she'd picked a less chaotic day to hang out. Arsal was basically Searles' second home, so she knew every nook and cranny like the back of her hand. She wrecks the main government buildings and the Magic Academy without breaking a sweat. Meanwhile, Kella channels Hell's mana to take down the power-hungry festival goers who were too busy getting wasted on the hype to defend themselves. Together they make short work of Arsal, turning the nation of magic into a fiery wasteland, flames licking the skies, buildings burning to ash. Some minions tried to talk a big game but got vaporized faster than you can say game over. Searles is riding high, hyped to torch the entire continent in her revenge-fueled rampage. But Kella and Rin are quick to hit the brakes. They know this is spiraling into a full-on disaster. They try to split ways before things get out of hand, but Searles casually drops the bomb that she knows Kella is their father's second son. Kella figures the cat's out of the bag and confirms it, but Searles acts all shocked like she just guessed his identity on a whim. She then reveals she isn't Hell's daughter in the usual way, more like a mutant crafted with Hell's blood aura. So she sees Kella as the real deal, the true bloodline heir, while she's just some freak experiment. Also, since she was born after Kella, she's technically his little sister, but Kella flat out refuses to acknowledge her. Searles assumes Kella's itching for revenge, clueless that he actually played a part in their father's death. But her fiery glare at the last surviving son of Hela tells Rin they better fake the loyalty act and go along with Surreals if they want to stay alive. Kella, playing the long game, agrees to the revenge charade because he's got no choice and needs Arcel's magic, which Surreals knows inside out. So revenge becomes the perfect cover for Kella's real agenda, using the chaos to get what he wants. Behind them, one mage miraculously survives and immediately feels the urgent need to snitch to Talua. The king of Talua gets the lowdown that Strichels of the Talkin squad is a demon, and that when Arcel's mages tried to hers, Kella Khaldun suddenly showed up and torched Arcel alongside her. The king snaps, clearly pissed, but the reporting mage spills more tea. Kella seems way too cozy with Shrips. This news has the king seeing red, mostly because it makes them look like a joke. He orders an all-out demon hunt to erase any trace of this embarrassing mess and threatens the mage if he fails. The mage Hayden swears on his honor and bounces. Meanwhile, the creep who's got Hell's head encased like some twisted trophy grumbles to it, about how his bloodline keeps dragging him down. He vows to burn every last one of Hell's descendants to ash. Then Hayden calls in the Killian squad because Killian is supposedly the top knight, even better than his late brother Kilman. In some remote mountain, Killian hears the terrible news that his brother died sacrificing himself to take down the Demon King. Killian hates the fact that a demon ended his brother, but the rookie soldier reminds him that Talua needs him to hunt down Kella Khaldun. Killian couldn't care less about Talua's politics. His mission is personal. He's dead set on wiping out every demon on the continent, starting with Kella Khaldun because one of them took his brother's life. As Killian plots his mission to obliterate Kella, the scene flips to a more mundane worry. Kella frets about the sheer amount of food Sreels managed to snag for their meal. Rin, ever curious, asks Sreels about her weight loss secrets, to which Sreels casually drops the "if it goes in and out quickly you won't get fat" line, making Rin suspicious she just stumbled onto some miracle diet theory. Meanwhile, Kella is just relieved Sreels isn't gunning for him, like Caldera or Tarme did, but he can't resist asking if she holds any grudges since he's Hell's biological spawn. Sreels gets real and admits she's borderline jealous enough to want to off him, but since he shares the same blood as their father, whom she's always admired, she can't bring herself to hate Kella. In fact, she even wants to protect him just for that reason. Kella's touched by the sentiment, but when Sreels says she'd literally put her life on the line to keep him safe, he turns beet red and blushes like a teen caught in a romance manga moment. Rin, sensing the conversation's awkward turn, quickly jumps in to offer Kella her share of the food and vows to protect him till her last breath. Instead of feeling warmed by the gesture, Kella just wants her to chill. Sreels points out that with Arcel down, a swarm of demon hunters will be closing in, so they need a safe place to crash. Kella, ever the strategist, assures them their current spot is perfect. Just a bit of effort and it'll turn into an impenetrable secret fortress. Using his mad mapping skills, Kella transforms the hideout into a fortress worthy of legends. While they rest, Kella reviews what he learned from the battle but admits he's wiped after burning through a ton of mana, much like his father used to do after fights. Sreels, having used even more, needs an even longer recovery. Thanks to their secret fortress, they recuperate safely and soundly. Back in Talua, the arrival of the second elite squad, Talkin of White, is cause for celebration. The creepy king gets legit goosebumps just watching them, so he personally welcomes the squad led by Killian. Deed notes that Killian looks even stronger than before, and brags that Killiman would be proud to see his little brother now. Killian stays silent, while Audria quickly shuts Deed down for his big mouth. Kalka grumbles about having to answer the king's summons, because he's itching to hunt Kella straight away, but Killian tells him there's something important he wants to show Curdly first. Later, the squad watches the preserved head of Hell, with Killian immediately labeling it the murderer of his brother. Deed finds the sight disgusting, but as usual, Audria silences him. Killian orders Curdly to cast a tracking spell, and she confirms that the bloodstains on Hell's head will help her track down those sharing his bloodline. As she weaves her magic, Killian tells Hell to keep his eyes open because what they're about to do is going to shake the world. Meanwhile, Shrill's fully recharged and hyped, is ready to take on Talkin's second squad. Rin is clueless about this, so Shrills explains the first Talkin squad was just an experiment against the Demon King. The real powerhouse squad, the one Talua truly poured its strength into, is the second squad, Talkin of White, led by Kilman's younger brother, Killian. When Kella questions this, Shrills casually drops that the second squad is so strong even she can't put a number on it. Talk about setting the stage for some next-level showdown. Shrills casually drops the bomb that the second squad is so ridiculously strong even she can't put a number on their power level. Rin immediately starts sweating, worried about the madness of invading Talua with such a beast squad lurking around. But Shrills, ever the chill one, reassures her that Talkin of White trains in total isolation, meaning it'll take them time to regroup. However, Kella, the realist, knows Talua's way bigger than Arcel. so hoping for luck is like betting on a broken slot machine. He points out that because of his hunt quest, the Token of White squad is probably already back in action, so they can't just barge into Taloa without an army and a fortress. The girls perk up, intrigued as Kella lays down the plan. They need an army that can stomp the Token of White without breaking a sweat, and a base that won't crumble even if the full Taloa forces storm it. His grand idea is to build the strongest dungeon known to any creature, something impregnable and legendary. No more reckless battles that end with them as dust. Like what happened to Hell. Kella's hyped and his excitement reels the girls in like a magnet. He's secretly proud he just cooked up this genius plan on the fly, shifting Sriles' focus from destruction to recruitment. Everyone's buzzing except Kella, who stays deadpan because honestly, he's just stalling for time to create his own world, a map he hasn't yet been able to bring to life. This dungeon fantasy is his ticket. He tells Sriles he needs someone who knows the land inside and out, and luckily, Sriles, being the resourceful badass she is, already knows exactly where to go. On the way to their destination, Kella starts learning Arcel's magic. It's tough, but with the Demon King's power coursing through him, he picks it up fast. Using magic with his own hands feels like inching closer to the goal he's been chasing forever. 4 days later, they arrive at a barren wasteland, desolate thanks to Token's previous ambush. Sriles tells Rin and Kella to freeze, no sudden moves because a pack of demons suddenly ambushes them. Surprisingly, Sriles doesn't fight back. She just absorbs the attacks, realizing these demons still don't know her real identity. Rin urges her to spill the truth, but Kella tells her to let Sriles handle it. The demons get heated, confused why Sriles isn't throwing punches, but Sriles just apologizes and humbly accepts their anger until they calm down. Then, with a symbol belonging to their race, she drops the truth. She's one of them, a fellow demon. The demons recall seeing her with Token last time, so confusion is heavy in the air until Kella steps up, swearing on his honor as the Demon King's son that Sriles is telling the truth. The demons instantly recognize Kella's aura, and the earth demons kneel, surrendering with deep respect. Sriles points out that they see him as the rightful heir, but Kella's gaze is locked on the village below. Watching it, an idea sparks. Maybe building his own army won't be as impossible as he thought after all. The earth demons throw a low-key party for Kella's arrival, their leader suddenly acting all buddy-buddy like he's auditioning for a reality show. Meanwhile, Kella's not buying the fake friendliness. He's too busy eyeballing the architecture that's a total flex compared to anything he's ever seen. The materials scream all-natural vibes, and the city's underground placement is so on point it's like they hacked the system. Honestly, who even imagines a city this massive hiding beneath the surface? Kella nods along with Sriles, who's riding high on an ego wave, hyping up the need to snag some earth demon talent. She even throws in that they gotta recruit a warrior from this squad. Kella perks up, intrigued, so Sriles spills the tea. Token stumbled upon this secret city when he was cruising to the Demon King's castle. Naturally, Token went full savage and torched the forest hiding the city, almost wiping out the earth demons like it was nobody's business. But hold up, there was this one warrior who was basically a walking tank, standing guard over the elf kids, even when the odds were stacked like a boss fight. Killman's interest is piqued, so he asks for the guy's name, Douglas. Killman's heartstrings get pulled when he finds out Douglas isn't human, but instead of acting like a softie, he orders his troops to back off. Douglas, caught off guard by this weird mercy move, just stands there like, wait, what? Sriles explains his bravery saved the tribe, but Douglas remains as confused as someone trying to understand crypto. Sriles spins the story so well it hooks Rin, but Kella's the real-world pragmatist here, already thinking about the earth demon who can actually throw down in battle. He tells the leader he wants to meet Douglas. The leader plays the stubborn card, saying Douglas is a pain to deal with and Kella should just move on. But no, Kella's got tunnel vision for this guy, and decides to track him down himself. Douglas doesn't even flinch, flat out refusing to follow Kella despite him being the Demon King's son. Kella tries to flex his authority, but Douglas claps back with a "I'll die before I bow down" attitude. Douglas has roots here, born and bred, so leaving isn't even on the table. Kella mutters about stubbornness like it's a broken record, but Douglas just shrugs and tosses out a casual apology. Kella's left feeling like he's stuck in a gacha game, Hellscape, chasing a rare character that never drops. He sighs, defeated, and walks away. As Kella strolls through the village, he keeps snooping around the architecture, realizing hiring an earth demon architect might be clutch. But just as he's vibing with that thought, his two drunk pals crash the scene, turning the vibe from chill to chaotic. Kella snaps at them like a responsible adult, but plot twist, he soon joins their drunken mess. The trio drinks so hard it takes the village leader to drag their sorry selves to bed. Later, Kella's out cold, sinking into the comfiest bed ever, when suddenly the door swings open. Enter the Muscle Squad, weapons drawn, ready to off the wimpy Demon King's son. Talk about a brutal wake-up call. Douglas attacks with brutal force, but is caught off guard when Kella meets his gaze with sharp, deadly eyes. Kella leaps away from the bed, yet everyone still thinks he is the same cowardly Kella they've always known. It's almost laughable how blind they are to the change right in front of them. At first, Kella doubts when he sees Douglas making things at the smithy that clearly aren't weapons. There is no way those restraints could hold an orc, no matter how you look at them. While watching his surroundings more carefully, Kella notices someone following him, a rookie mistake on their part. From then on, he becomes even more alert, spotting a wall with a magical barrier that only shows itself because of the Demon King's mana inside him. There is also that strange part in Sriel's story about Douglas protecting young dark elves, but Kella never sees a single dark elf in the village. That's when everything clicks and his suspicions are confirmed with this attack. He quickly disarms Douglas, realizing the warrior demon isn't really protecting the dark elves, he just doesn't want them taken from him. Douglas's reaction says it all, and Kella decides to reveal everything once and for all. Once outside, Kella discovers that the whole village is in on the plan. They can't believe their greatest warrior has failed, but Douglas can only apologize. Kella warns everyone to stay away if they don't want their warrior hurt, and from then on, everyone is at his mercy. Kella takes Douglas to the wall and forces him to open it. When the secret door opens, Kella finds a group of dark elves chained inside. The situation is even worse than he expected. Rin and Srils arrive and see the horrible scene. Kella immediately asks Srils to project the memories of one of the dark elves into his mind using magic. Srils agrees without hesitation, though she explains the memory might be a little blurry since she acts as a medium. The memory transfer works, and Kella witnesses how this place is like a prison from hell for the dark elves. Pregnancies and childbirths are forced to produce children who are later sold to human nobles. Others are sold for large sums of money. Occasionally, adult elves captured from outside tell stories of endless skies, blue oceans, delicious food, and carefree travel, things they can never experience in this place. Their one wish before dying is for at least one of them to escape and live freely. Kella's anger skyrockets at the cruel treatment by the earth demons, and he takes it all out on the so-called warrior Douglas, who clearly has no real loyalty or protection for anyone but himself. Kella absolutely wrecks Douglas, beating the crap out of him. But Srils is also fuming, because that trash bag never even tried to save the poor kids. Douglas, the ultimate piece of garbage, tries to justify himself by claiming dark elves are some rare trophy that human nobles drool over like it's a freaking collector's item. He goes on about how nature itself loves these elves, and that living in the spots they recommend lets the earth demons chill in peace. This scumbag actually thinks that makes them perfect candidates for raising as livestock, like they're some kind of farm animals. Srils and Rin throw some serious shade his way, but Douglas shrugs it off with a weak-ass excuse about needing dark elves to survive now that the Demon King is dead. Kella totally loses it because he knows misery firsthand thanks to his abusive dad, but these kids are suffering in ways no one should ever endure. He can't just stand there like a statue while this horror unfolds right before his eyes, so he orders Srils and Rin to finish what Killman left half done. They're all in, ready to wipe out the earth demons once and for all. Douglas, in classic clueless fashion, calls the whole village to arms, probably thinking they can just steamroll 3 of them like it's some kind of easy win. The orcs come charging in, cocky as hell, convinced Kella is a weak loser who doesn't deserve to be followed. Rin shuts that nonsense down, making it clear Kella's the next Demon King, even if Douglas is too dense to get it, and keeps attacking. Kella knows this isn't some game, it's real life, and he's not about to be a bystander anymore. He's got the power to flip the script, and he's ready to do just that. Meanwhile, the Dark Elves watch the mess unravel, realizing they're on the front lines fighting for their survival. Wood, one of them, suggests pitching in, but the girl next to him warns it's a dangerous mission. They'll just get tortured again if Kella and company lose. The mere mention of torture sends Wood into full PTSD mode, flashing back to all the excruciating pain he's endured. Kella sees Wood's panic attack and makes a vow to repay all their suffering. But Douglas isn't done being a joke yet. He pulls out some earth ore and chomps it down, telling everyone else to do the same. Rin's jaw drops because she thought that stuff was just some fairy tale. Kella's clueless, so Srils breaks it down. Eating the earth ore cranks your physical abilities up by a crazy amount, but at the cost of shaving off some of the demon's lifespan. Classic power at a price nonsense. No surprise, the earth demons morph into grotesque hulks and Kella can feel the surge of their demonic energy. But here's the kicker, he still can't tap into the full power hell gave him yet, so he braces himself for the incoming chaos. Then out of nowhere, roots burst from the ground like some twisted plant tentacles and trap Douglas. Turns out Wood's flexing his powers because he's done being a torture victim. The other Dark Elves are still losing their minds, while Douglas tries to bark threats but can't get much done with Kella standing tall. Kella ends the farce by shoving his father's brutal punch straight into Douglas's gut, and in a surprising twist, admits to Wood that he actually likes him. Mic drop. Kella drops a bomb by confessing he actually likes Wood, but Douglas isn't having any of it. He immediately throws the betrayal card and decides to skip the torture and go straight for destruction mode. His body inflates like some angry balloon, and with a single punch, he sends Kella flying into the wall as if he's nothing but a ragdoll. Douglas then zeroes in on Wood, choking the poor guy while spouting the same tired villainous threats like a broken record. Kella's smart enough to realize Douglas has officially lost his marbles. Focusing all his rage on Wood instead of him is a rookie move. Unfortunately, Kella's too far away to do anything in that split second. Then, as if the universe heard his silent plea, everything goes black and Kella suddenly finds himself in a void. An entity with zero chill calls him an idiot up front and reveals this place is actually his own consciousness. When Kella asks who the heck it is, the figure just throws the name Wood back at him, and Kella, not wanting to dwell on it, quickly switches gears. The entity then lays down some harsh truth. Kella isn't fully ready to unleash Hella's full power yet. He's gotta unlock it bit by bit as his mind and body get their act together. But Kella's not here for a lecture, he just wants a quick fix to save Wood, like ASAP. The entity spills the tea on Kella's current abilities but throws in a curveball by calling him both Kella and Kang Chi-woo. Kella's mind is blown, but before he can even process it, he's snapped back to reality, now holding a bow made purely of mana. No time for confusion. He jumps straight into action, telling Wood to guard his body at all costs. Wood gets the memo, biting Douglas's hand and disappearing into the branches like a pro. Kella then tells Douglas that this arrow is payment in full for every dirty, disgusting thing he's done. He fires a single shot, and the attack is pure devastation, obliterating the trash bag with brutal efficiency. Kella watches Douglas's fall with all the satisfaction of someone who just shut down a major headache. Kella's still mulling over the weird cryptic entity he met inside his mind, but Rin and Srills drag him back to reality before he can spiral too deep. Without missing a beat, Kella slings more arrows, wiping out the remaining orcs faster than you can say game over. Srills notices Kella's mana is way stronger now, and Kella's clearly loving the taste of long-range combat. He's finally getting a grip on his power, and it's looking damn good. A bit later, smoke starts rising from one of the holes above ground where the orcs are roasting alive, looking like a barbecue gone horribly wrong, only way less appetizing. Sprells points out that these earth orcs are way more powerful than she expected, almost like they're running on some secret cheat codes. Even Rin didn't know the full extent of their strength, so it's clear they need to investigate these guys further. But focusing on the more immediate issue, Kella tells the elves that the rest of them are finally free to do whatever they want without the risk of being captured again by those nasty bastards. The elves look like they just woke up from a nightmare, nervously double-checking if they're actually free. Kella confirms it's time to leave this hellhole behind. They cautiously ask if they can really take their children away from this nightmare. Then, overwhelmed with gratitude, they kneel and bow, thanking Kella as if she's just given them a second chance at life. Srills doesn't sugarcoat it. Recruiting earth demons now is impossible, and Rin agrees, though they both accept there's nothing they can do about it. Kella confirms with Wood that the boy was captured and has no family to live with. When Wood admits this, Kella invites him to join their group, explaining they need an earth demon to help navigate the terrain. However, Wood reveals he's not actually an earth demon and isn't skilled with terrain, so he can't help in that way. Kella reassures him not to worry because elves receive nature's support, and Wood has already shown bravery beyond most, which is enough reason to have him join. Wood is stunned by the offer and shares his story. He doesn't remember his parents, was abandoned, captured, and has lived his whole life in that awful village, expecting to die there, so he can hardly believe he's about to leave and join Kella's group. Kella corrects him, saying he's not just following anyone, but choosing to come willingly. With the earth demons dealt with and the dark elves free, Kella worries they've never been outside before, but he's confident that being loved by nature means wherever they go will be better than where they came from. As soon as Wood joins, Rin orders him around. Srill suggests finding a flowing river, which Wood can help with since he can smell water. Rin praises him in her usual tsundere way, but Wood doesn't mind. When Kella asks why they need a river, Srill explains they can't just keep walking endlessly like some old manga plot. They need a way to travel. Rin immediately suggests catching a dragon, but Srill quickly shuts that down, saying dragons are even rarer than unicorns. Kella as leader decides they'll head in the direction Wood pointed. Later that night, some unicorns are drinking water when something disturbs them. It's a massive dragon showing up. Talk about two prey with one stone. Rin keeps pestering Srills about the dragon, but Srills just ignores her. Curdly strides up to the wrecked earth demon settlement, only to find a mangled demon groveling like a pathetic stray, begging for a scrap of mercy. Her family tracking spell flopped hard, apparently because the demons were scattered like bad Wi-Fi signals in every direction. Her crew starts throwing a fit over the chaos, but Killian, the self-proclaimed demon hunter extraordinaire, shrugs it off and commands Curdly to hunt down Kella elsewhere, since apparently, hunting demons is his full-time gig and he doesn't want to be bothered. Curdly confirms she can teleport solo for a decent distance, which thankfully is their fastest option. Guess teamwork isn't the vibe today. With her Gogo Satoru eye flashing, she vanishes like a ghost, leaving Killian to boss everyone else around like the demon-busting overlord he thinks he is. Curdly picks up a faint trace of Kella's energy nearby. The demon she cornered spills the tea. Kella was here and went full apocalypse mode on their tribe. Naturally, when Curdly asks where Kella vanished to, the demon cluelessly shrugs, earning himself a laser blast through the head because why waste time on useless snitches? Left with no choice, Curdly follows the faint energy trail, hunting down Kella Khaldun like a pro on a mission. Meanwhile, the gang finally drags themselves to a river, all thanks to Wood, who basically acted like a sniffing dog following some random scent. The others throw him a half-hearted thanks, but Rin immediately drags him for getting all hyped up like a rookie who just discovered the magic of sniffing. Kella's stomach is screaming louder than a YouTube comment section, so Rin decides to fish for him, but the fish clearly have a crush on Wood, hopping right into his arms because the dude controls water like it's his personal playlist. Rin's face twists in annoyance, trying to spark some fire magic, but Sergil swoops in, lighting a campfire with a flick of her hand like it's no big deal. Rin's mood hits rock bottom. Talk about a flameout. Everyone's chowing down on the fish feast, but Rin is still drowning in her own pity party, so she generously hands over her portion to Srels. Kella, ever the observant one, calls out her mopey vibes and casually mentions wanting some fruit. Rin perks up like a puppy hearing the treat bag crinkle and bolts to find some. Wood wants in on the action, but Kella shuts him down. Clearly wanting Rin to have this small victory, she flutters away, excited to fetch some tasty treats. Srels calls her a simpleton, and calls out on Kella being a softie, but he's too stubborn to admit he cares. Wood sniffs the air and claims there are unicorns nearby, but Kella's dreaming bigger. He wants dragons. Srels jumps in with his usual brainy rant, shooting down the dragon idea like a party pooper who's just too real for his own good. Rin bounces through the forest like she owns the place, skipping around as if she's strolling through her mom's designer garden. She leaps onto a rock to snag some fruit, but suddenly the earth trembles beneath her. She locks eyes with a massive glaring eyeball. Turns out she was standing on a dragon this whole time. Naturally, she goes full black and white dramatic mode because hey, that's her signature reaction every single time. Wood casually drops the fact that he can naturally sense the Earth's energy. The closet map geek perks up, comparing it to peeking at a game map. Srels nods and says it's a solid skill for sniffing out dungeons, basically the ultimate loot radar. But poor Wood's feeling like a total noob because his range sucks. He can't sense Jack beyond a short distance. He's heard a rumor that the only way to boost this skill is by munching on a clairvoyant stone from a dragon that's been around for over 1,000 years. Kella's jaw almost hits the floor, shocked that just a stone could crank Wood's powers up by hundreds of times. Srels, the resident realist, shoots down the hype by pointing out how nearly impossible it is to find a dragon, let alone rip a stone off one without ending up as Demon Chow. Kella doubts dragons are that invincible, but Srels drops the truth bomb. Dragons are the apex predators who hate demons as much as they probably hate bad breath. Apparently, only a handful of humans with ironclad mental strength can tame these beasts. Kella finds it ironic that it's the weaklings who manage to tame the dragons, but Srels has already given up trying to decode dragon logic. It's like some messed up derivative no one really understands. Still, Kella's curiosity is piqued, but Srels shuts her down like she's got some personal grudge against dragons. Just when they're ready to throw in the towel on ever finding a dragon, Rin bursts onto the scene with an actual dragon hot on her heels. The squad is stunned, but there's no time to fangirl over the beast. Chaos erupts as everyone scrambles, yelling like a bunch of headless chickens. Of course, Curdly picks up the commotion from miles away and heads over because why wouldn't she? They finally zip it and scramble behind some rocks for cover. The dragon sniffs around, then probably bored or full, finally bails. Srels lets out a relieved sigh, but immediately throws shade at Rin for dragging a dragon to the party instead of some fruit. Wood pipes up, pointing out the dragon's massive size. Definitely an ancient one, probably over a millennium old. Kella's about to jump in with a theory when Curdly cuts in, confirming that dragon must have a clairvoyant stone. Kella perks up, calling it a golden opportunity, and they all seem on board, until the sudden appearance of a mysterious stranger catches everyone off guard. Srels quickly remembers Curdly is from the Talkin' of the White, and the rest instantly pull weapons because Curdly's reputation as a ruthless, cold-blooded mage precedes her. Kella starts whining about his unlucky isekai life stuck in one mess after another, and now facing a cold-hearted mage to top it off. But Curdly, cool as ice, tells them to chill, no need to start a fight. Kella's confused, but Curdly reminds Sreech that brawling here is pointless since she could wipe them out with a single spell. Sreech backs her up, confirming that Curdly truly outpowers them all combined. She's really the Gogo Saturo of this world. Rin starts sweating bullets, but Curdly assures them they won't die today if they just follow her quietly. Kella asks where they're headed, and Curdly deadpans that they're going straight to where Killian is hanging out right now. Curdly makes it clear she's taking them straight to Killian, dropping the bomb that the formidable Talkin' of the White is already on the move. She casually mentions that Killian is hunting for Kella, which hits Kella like a ton of bricks, but Curdly's icy resolve tells him that tagging along might actually stretch out his miserable life a bit longer. Kella, of course, refuses to go down like some weakling again. He'd rather throw down and scrap to the bitter end than just roll over and accept his fate. So the fight kicks off, Curdly slams up a shield, bracing for impact as everyone launches their attacks. But Wood, being the sneaky nature guy, sends branches snaking out from underground to trap her like an overgrown chokehold. Rin dashes in, eager to help, but Srills throws a timely warning. Close combat is a no-go here. Unfortunately, the memo comes a bit too late because Curdly detonates the very ground Rin was standing on, sending her crashing down like a failed gymnast. Oof. Curdly, clearly over it, decides she might as well just bring back Kella's corpse. She summons a brutal blizzard attack, ice and snow swirling with deadly intent. Srills conjures up a shield in a flash, and Rin scrambles behind it like her life depends on it, because spoiler alert, it does. Kella tries to check on Rin, but she's sobbing about how useless she feels, which doesn't exactly bolster morale. The shield's already on its last legs, and the power gap between Srills and Curdly is like David versus Goliath, except Goliath's got magic that'll freeze you solid. Another brutal wave of attacks slams into the shield, cracking it further. If the assault keeps up, they're toast. Kella's mind races, and suddenly he remembers the mysterious entity lurking in his consciousness. Desperate, he starts channeling it, even though it risks weakening their already fragile shield. His screams draw the attention of the massive dragon nearby because nothing says trouble like yelling at a mythical beast. Curdly senses the energy of hell emanating from Kella, realizing it only surfaces when he pushes himself in battle. That explains why she couldn't track him earlier. Kella strains to dive into his consciousness, but it's a no-go, even when life and death are on the line. The mental gate won't budge. Just as the shield shatters, and Curdly's devastating attacks are about to obliterate them, the dragon steps in, blocking every strike like it's some kind of casual bodyguard. It looks at them like they're old pals, completely unfazed by the magical chaos unfolding around them. The dragon protecting the demons shocks even Curdly, but she attacks anyway, refusing to back down. The dragon effortlessly blocks every strike and closes in on Kella, showing him memories of his mother spending time with him, memories that are tender but bittersweet. The dragon isn't just fighting, it's trying to make Kella feel the weight of those moments. Then, as if to add to the confusion, the dragon casually spits out his clairvoyant stone like he's handing out gifts. Kella wants an explanation, but the dragon tells him there's no time for stories, and urges him to hide his power and run. Kella is too shocked to fully understand, but the dragon tells him to hurry as it breathes fire toward Curdly. She blocks it with a shield, still finding it strange that a dragon is helping demons. Knowing time is running out, Kella and his group run away to save themselves. Curdly admits the dragon is powerful, and to prove it, the dragon intensifies its fire breath. Seeing this, Curdly decides to step up as well, creating a magic circle in the sky and pulling out a meteor, but she clearly copied Zhongli on this one. The dragon watches the meteor approaching and thinks about Kella's mother one last time before the giant celestial body crashes down on it. Kella turns around and sees the dragon crushed. Out of curiosity, Curdly approaches the dragon to peek into its memories before it dies. However, its body suddenly catches fire and warns the humans that they will regret what they have done so far. After turning to dust, Curdly comments that the dragon has ended its own life, which gives Kella time to hide his presence and escape. Though it's a bit troublesome for her, she believes it won't change Kella's fate. He is destined to fall at the hands of the White Talkans. Kella and the others manage to escape Curdly safely, but they're left baffled about the dragon helping them, only after Kella flexed his demonic powers like some kind of last resort superhero. Kella lets them know he briefly dived into the dragon's memories and spotted his mother hanging around with the dragon. Rin points out that dragons and demons normally hate each other's guts, so she demands the full tea. Kella agrees but admits the memories hit with some seriously bittersweet vibes, like a sad indie track that refuses to quit. When the crew hears about the clairvoyant stone, their brains short-circuit trying to process it all, ending up more confused than a cat chasing a laser pointer. The only takeaway is that they just got saved by the queen herself, no cap. Meanwhile, Kella's low-key obsessed with figuring out what's up with his mom and that dragon, especially since he saw some deep feelings in the dragon's eyes. Without wasting time, Kella hands the stone over to Wood, and even Sitges nods at the decision since Talkin is already onto them. Wood wonders if he's worthy of such a rare gem, but Kella's blunt, telling him to use it since nobody else seems to need it. Wood doesn't hesitate. He swallows the stone whole, and immediately his body throws a full-on drama fest, with his eyes turning blood red like a horror movie scene, as the dragon's tragic backstory unfolds. The dragon's life had been a nightmare lab experiment from day one. Humans treated him like a disposable toy, ripping him apart for their twisted tests without a hint of mercy. Generations came and went, and every time he neared death, they patched him up just to torture him again. His mind broke so badly after centuries that he basically checked out of life. The humans, delusional as ever, thought it was some kind of win that he stopped crying under their abuse. Just when he was mentally done for, Turk Khaldun, the absolute worst demon king humans could imagine, started invading human lands. During the chaos, the lab collapsed, finally freeing the dragon. He soared through the skies, tasting freedom at last, and hunted down his fellow dragons to spill the brutal truth about human cruelty and pitch teaming up with demons. Unexpectedly, no one bought it. The dragons were way too cozy with humans, fighting demons side by side. They didn't realize humans got that close by playing dirty, experimenting on dragons to steal their magic and secrets. The dragon's truth bomb didn't sit well with the others. Dragons had already locked horns with demons and refused to switch sides, so the dragon ended up in the ultimate enemy zone, shunned by humans, demons, and dragons alike. He spiraled into an existential meltdown, questioning his purpose because apparently he fit nowhere. He ghosted into endless darkness and lonely isolation, waiting for life to clock out until he met Karisti. She was just a kid, bawling her eyes out like it was the end of the world, clinging to him and calling him mommy like she was starring in a soap opera. The dragon was sweating bullets, trying to tell her he was no mommy material. But amid the tears and confusion, he realized something wild. He had finally found the reason he was born, the ultimate unexpected plot twist. Karisti, the child who appeared before the dragon, carried memories as bleak as a stormy night. While humans had used the dragon for cruel experiments, it was demons who subjected her to their own twisted tests. Among demons, there existed a hostile faction operating independently, the Tarsika. These cold-hearted entities had cracked the code on dragon magic through their experiments, and were obsessed with harnessing it to subjugate dragons. The moment Karista hatched from her egg, Tarsika snatched her away for relentless experimentation. She possessed the highest magical potential among all test subjects, and from birth, could wield the most complex dragon magic, transformation magic. This made her a prime target for their cruel research, but there came a breaking point, where she could no longer endure. In a desperate bid for freedom, she developed teleportation magic on her own. The child who fled the facility wandered alone until fate led her to the dragon. He believed their shared agonies, both having lived tortured lives, pulled them together, making it impossible to act like strangers. He taught her to call him master, clarifying he was neither her mother nor father. The kid was excited with the change because master sounded eerily like mother, but the dragon was far from happy with this twisted consolation. From then on, he became her mentor, teaching her how the world worked, how dragons lived, and the vast dragon magic he had absorbed. The time they spent together flew by, a stark contrast to his past where each moment crawled in unbearable slow motion. One day, without warning, he thanked her simply because he felt it. Watching her grow bit by bit and sharing those precious moments brought him a happiness words couldn't capture. All the suffering he endured as a dragon seemed insignificant compared to the beautiful life they built together. But change struck when they least expected it. One day he completely forgot who she was, unable even to recognize her form. Panic flooded Kariste, but he attacked her in confusion. All he ever wanted was to live happily by her side, yet his body, worn down by countless experiments and shortened lifespan, began to crumble as it neared its limits. Her desperate cries snapped him back to his senses, and he apologized for the attack. Still, he realized that before the day came when he could no longer recognize her at all, he had to leave her side. She called out to him, bawling her eyes out, but he never returned. He fled as far as possible, sacrificing their bond for the sake of his precious disciple. He began preparing for the end, dwelling on nostalgic memories of Kariste, trapped in a cycle of remembering and forgetting. His lifespan was slipping away, and he could feel the inevitable closing in. One day, a bittersweet energy reached him from far away, and instinctively he followed it. On the last day of his life, he found the source, the only fragment of memory left of her, the spark that reminded him of his cherished disciple and beloved daughter. He lunged toward it frantically, but there was no Karisti. Instead, he found a different child. Yet he protected that child because he could sense she was Kariste's own. In a flash through the child's memories, he glimpsed his beloved daughter, now a mother, holding her own child close. Determined to protect her legacy, he fought to the very end, a final act of gratitude toward Kariste for giving his last days meaning. At the close of his long, turbulent life, it was a bittersweet comfort to see her child. He loved her dearly, as only a father could. Wood breaks down in tears as the memories flood in. He collapses to his knees, the tears flowing endlessly. The long, painful memories transfer to him, but fade the more he tries to cling to them. Still, he knows the dragon died a happy death. Kella is struck with shock as he realizes the dragon must have met his end at the hands of Curdly. Srides doesn't hold back, harshly chewing out Wood for bawling his eyes out over those memories, but somehow not remembering a single thing. Wood, caught in his own pity spiral, apologizes and explains that manifesting abilities isn't instant, it takes time. Before he can slip back into the funk, Rin throws him a much-needed wake-up call, shaking him out of the slump. Kella decides to give Wood the time he needs to develop his skills and suggests they head somewhere safer, someplace that can actually help them protect themselves. Srils pulls out a map, splashing demon territories in red and human lands in blue. They're currently camped right between the two borders, so Kella opts to head south. Rin raises an eyebrow, confused why they're not diving deeper into demon territory. Kella lays it out. Hell must have had some grand plan when he sent him to Arsal. Meeting Srils was part of it, but more importantly, Hell probably predicted that once he fell, the humans would launch a full-scale invasion into demon lands. Searles confirms this grim reality. Once Hell died, humanity's armies wasted no time and went full-on extermination mode against the demon folk. Rin's hope flares as she suggests rallying the demons behind Kella, but he brutally drops the truth bomb. He's branded the cowardly son who ran away, so the odds of demons lining up behind him are slim to none. Rin turns her hopeful gaze to Searles, but she shuts that down cold. No paternity test to prove she's the Demon King's daughter, and the demons still remember her shady deeds during her Talkin' days. Out of nowhere, Kella announces they need to create a dungeon as a base, a place from which to build achievements that'll actually make demons want to follow him. His crew vibes with the idea, hyped by the plan to win over demons through real accomplishments and crown Kella the next Demon King. Kella plays it cool, emphasizing the need to establish their position and form a strategy. The others are pumped, blissfully unaware this is more of a stopgap plan on Kella's part. He's got the comrades he needs, but he's hunted by some absurdly powerful foes. Taking on Talkin of the White right now is dumb, so information is the real weapon he needs. Having spent some time in this world, Kella notices plenty of game-like mechanics at play. If there's truly a link between this world and his past life, he plans to exploit his status and use his previous knowledge to craft a survival strategy. He's determined not to die in vain again. Meanwhile, the demons beg for mercy but get none from the relentless humans. Though the demons have surrendered, Talkin of the White continues butchering them like animals at a slaughterhouse. Kalka informs the captain that their enemy's resistance is broken but finds Killian deep in conversation with Curdley. She updates him on the dragon's interference and location, mentioning she's keeping watch via her butterflies. Killian reasons that Kella wouldn't want to enter the demon lands turned to a sea of flames, so he plans to intercept him where Curdley first encountered him. Audrea insists on dealing with the remaining demons first, but Killian assures her it won't be too late once they handle Kella. He's laser-focused on eradicating the bloodline that ended his brother. As they travel south on unicorns, Kella suddenly feels a chill, but the others dismiss it as just the cold. He notes that Talkin hasn't followed them at all on the way here, and Kella silently hopes it stays that way until he finishes his preparations. Suddenly, the unicorns come to an abrupt halt. Wood explains they're refusing to go any further, something about the air ahead triggering a strong refusal, a warning that whatever lies beyond is not to be taken lightly. It turns out the unicorns are refusing to go any further because this place is just not their vibe. They're total divas about their environment. The gang decides to send the unicorns back, and Wood gives them a heartfelt farewell, setting them free to return home in peace. The weather here is brutal enough to give both humans and demons a hard time, which is exactly why Kella chose this spot. As the unicorns head back, the butterflies come across them. Curdley immediately suspects something after all. They're coming from a harsher environment, and there are exactly 4 of them, not a coincidence. Kella and the gang reach the sea and spot a distant island. Kella wants to know if there are any monsters lurking there, but Wood blurts out that his abilities only pick up on natural life, so he can't detect anything living. Surreal spots boats nearby, so they hop on to cross over to the island. It's not far from the coast, but the waves are strong and the wind is brutal. On the plus side, it'll be easy to spot anyone trying to invade the island. The entrance to the island's main area is massive. Kella asks Rills to cast an illusion spell to hide it. With that done, they decide to scout the place first. The path splits into 2, so Kella orders Wood to give the specifics. The long-range X-ray specialist confirms that each path opens into a room, leading to an even bigger room at the end with a single entrance and a small exit. Kella suggests they split up and check both paths. Srills tries to partner up with him, but Rin drags him away, using the excuse that the strongest should split up because they might face dangers alone. Srills agrees and teams up with Wood, taking one path. As they move along, they notice the light stones illuminating the way. The stones combine ice and light magic, and judging by how well they still glow, they must have been crafted by a seriously skilled mage. Srills casually drops a bombshell. She still doesn't trust Wood. She's tagging along because Kella picked him, but she's not the type to make new comrades easily. The two share a tense stare, until Wood breaks the silence, telling her to treat him like a slave if she's too worried to call him a comrade. His blunt reaction catches her off guard, but now she's absolutely sure she doesn't like him. Meanwhile, Rin is acting like a super attentive assistant, saving Kella from even the smallest obstacles, rocks, twigs, you name it. Kella finds her motivation a little odd. Suddenly, a slime hops his way, hyping Kella up because he's only ever seen slimes in video games, and has wanted to touch one at least once. But before he can get close, Rin squashes the poor slime right in front of him, erasing it from existence. She looks at Kella expectantly, waiting for a compliment on her amazing service. Despite his own low mood, Kella praises her, boosting her morale 100-fold. Maybe it's Rin's loud voice that does it, but suddenly a wall crashes down and a massive golem towers before them. The thing's huge, so Kella tells Rin to get behind him. She refuses flat out, saying she'll handle whatever stands in their way. Rin stumbles upon an outrageously expensive crystal necklace, and can't resist slipping it on, clearly fishing for some praise. But her partner, the ever stone-faced Wood, remains utterly unimpressed, leaving her feeling deflated. She genuinely misses Rin's hyperactive enthusiasm in moments like these. It's obvious she hates Wood's company, and the feeling is mutual. Neither of them is thrilled to be stuck together. Meanwhile, Rin keeps swinging at the golem with everything she's got, but it's like hitting a brick wall. One punch sends her crashing into the stone, leaving her coughing up blood. Kella warns her it's impossible to defeat the giant without proper weapons, but Rin refuses to back down. Each attack ends the same way, and Kella, clearly fed up, asks her why she's pushing herself so hard. Rin drops her reason like a bomb. She recounts how, when she first entered the Demon King's castle as his attendant, Kella told the Demon King he wanted to be her friend instead. The Demon King didn't agree, obviously, so Kella had no choice but to bind her with a servant contract, all while crying and apologizing. Rin thanked him because it made her feel seen that she was finally acknowledged as a person. She swore to support him in becoming the strongest demon, determined to work hard, but then Kella turned out to be a total crybaby and coward, always teetering on the edge of death thanks to his siblings. He cried, and even when Rin tried to toughen him up by acting cold and strict, nothing changed. Because of her association with him, she was ignored and discriminated against by other attendants. She ate the scraps of Tarme's failures, and even got splashed with molten lava. She slept alone in the stables, while other attendants tormented her for things she never did. Safety was a luxury she never knew. Her resentment grew until she started to hate Kella. The contract meant if he died she would too, so she planned to end both their miseries by taking his life. But his insane recovery powers kept him alive, meaning she couldn't even die when she wanted to. Kella kept apologizing, but she gritted her teeth, gave up on everything, and lived like a walking corpse. Then, overnight he changed, like completely. The current Kella seems like the true heir of the great Demon King. Rin knows she's been a burden to him and realizes if she keeps getting in his way she shouldn't stay by his side. And with that she somehow manages to stop the golem mid-attack while pouring out her sob story. Tears fall as she admits she's terrified of being abandoned by him. But before she can move, the golem springs back to life behind her. Before she can even react, Kella delivers a single devastating punch that shatters the golem. He pulls Rin close and reminds her that she's risked her life to protect him every time he was in danger, so he'd never abandon her. Hisoe shoujo manga promises that he won't let her go, even if she tries to run away. Renner breaks down, sobbing in his arms, unable to hold it in any longer. Kella, carrying all the memories she shared with the original Kella, fully understands her pain. Still, for the sake of the future, he knows he has to make Rin the strongest attendant there ever was. Surreals and Wood finally reach the first room, which is filled to the brim with sparkling jewelry. Without hesitation, Surreals starts slipping on some of the bling, clearly craving a little praise for her style. Wood calls her out, but she flatly refuses to share any of the loot. Wood then questions whether she's genuinely clueless or just playing dumb. Before his words even fully register, the bracelets suddenly snap onto her wrists like handcuffs, and the necklace tightens into a choking collar. Surreals belatedly realizes she has been trapped by a crafty treasure spider. Wood admits he sensed something off about the bracelet, but Surreals immediately blames him for not stopping her despite knowing the risk. As he steps in to save her sorry ass, Wood explains he figured she had a plan and was waiting to see how she'd handle it. Surreals, too proud to admit she let her guard down, can't summon her staff in this state, and has no choice but to trust Wood. She claims she got caught deliberately to test his strength, saying the bracelet is connected to a web, so she wants to see what Wood would do next. Wood doesn't waste time and rushes to break the bracelet, but Surreals yells that physical damage won't budge it. The treasure spider puts a magical barrier around anything connected to its web. Before Wood can try another tactic, the spider spits out a stream of acidic puke. Wood dodges while holding Surreals, but since they're inside a cave with no roots to summon, they're at a disadvantage. Surreals tells him to figure something out because she's useless like this. The spider spits acid again, and Wood dodges but stumbles, giving the spider a chance to shoot webbing at Surreals, gluing her to the wall while she's already restrained by the barrier. The spider leaps up to sting her, and Surreals braces for impact, but Wood throws himself between them as a meat shield, taking the hit. Remembering that Surreals can finish off the monster if freed, Wood grabs the spider's fang lodged in his body and uses a dagger to slice it off. He then breaks the barrier on Surreals' restraints using the cut fang. The spider, furious, goes all out attacking Wood. Surreals worries for him, but he tells her it's her time to shine. Surreals summons her staff, furious that a mere bug dared to mess with her. Her purple torch spell incinerates the spider, breaking the choker and freeing her. She finds Wood on his knees and questions how he managed to break the bracelet. Wood replies that he guessed the spider's body wouldn't be affected by the barrier. Surreals points out that he could have died if his gamble was wrong, but Wood shrugs it off, saying he doesn't care about living or dying if he's doing what she asked. Seeing him reminds Surreals of her own childhood when she used the same reckless tactic to win against opponents. Her instructor warned her she would have died if stabbed in the heart, but she didn't care. She was ordered to finish the fight no matter what. The instructor called her stubborn, but passed her anyway. Back then, Surreals fought tooth and nail to achieve her goals. Wood's deadpan face hides that he's just as determined. The kid risked his life to protect her, so Surreals delivers the good news. He passed the test and she now accepts him as a comrade. Her first order is to not let himself die so easily. Wood looks like he just got awarded a medal, and Sfrills can't help but feel a little proud. The two parties reunite in the last room, and immediately check on each other, with Sfrills grabbing Rin and Kella doing the same with Wood. Both waste no time blaming the other for letting their supposedly weaker teammate get injured. Typical finger-pointing that feels a bit like a reality show drama. They share what they faced so far, with Sfrills pointing out how unusual it is to find a golem and a treasure spider together in the same place. But before they can dig deeper, Sfrills casts a healing spell on Rin and Wood. Meanwhile, Kella starts rambling about the architecture resembling the Demon King's castle, but what really gets to him is the giant statue towering over them. At its feet is a box that looks exactly like a treasure chest. Rin's eyes light up with excitement, and it seems Sfrills hasn't quite learned her lesson either, as the two rush toward the box. Suddenly the statue's eyes glow ominously, and Kella quickly warns everyone, while countering the laser attack with his mana arrows. Sfrills and Rin are shocked to discover the treasure box was a trap, but Kella bluntly points out that it was pretty obvious. The statue keeps firing lasers, forcing them to dodge continuously. Rin wants to help again, but Kella insists they stay put and recover. Rin tries to object, but Wood decides to follow orders. Rin isn't happy with his stance, but Wood explains he was told by Sfrills not to die so easily, so he'll focus on healing as instructed. For once, Rin can't argue and stays put, focusing on her recovery alongside Wood. Kella attacks the statue, but a magical barrier shields it, making even Sfrills' fireballs ineffective. She's surprised that the statue uses both barrier and attack magic, suggesting either a high-level mage preloaded the spells, or someone inside is actively casting them. Kella turns to Wood, who confirms the statue is hollow, indicating someone might be hiding inside. However, they need to break the barrier to destroy the statue. As they consider their options, several golems emerge from nearby walls, stronger than the one they faced before. To make matters worse, a giant treasure spider drops down from the ceiling, so massive that the previous one looks like a baby in comparison. Sfrills tries her purple torch trick again, but it doesn't work. She dodges an attack and thinks she could have wiped them out with a wide area spell if they were outside. She turns to Kella to find any ideas. Kella could finish this easily by unleashing Hell's mana, but doing so would reveal their location to the Talkin of the White. Just as he's pondering what to do, he notices something strange about the statue. Kella quickly realizes that the statue's magic abruptly stopped as soon as the monsters appeared, which sets off alarm bells. Sfrills speculates that the statue's magic might actually be controlling the monsters, especially since they started showing up right after the conversation about destroying the statue. With that in mind, their new top priority becomes clear. Kella asks Sfrills to buy him some time, so she doesn't hesitate to hurl a massive fireball at the statue, lighting things up. Kella assumes the statue's barrier must be down since it stopped attacking, so he charges forward and lands a powerful punch. The statue shatters, but Sfrills immediately notices that Kella has gone inside it. Meanwhile, she's got her own problems as the golems suddenly charge at her, leaving her little room to breathe. The spider moves too, but Rin sees it heading straight for the broken statue. Before they can react, the golems also start rushing toward them. Rin thinks they have no choice but to fight now, but Sfrills forbids the injured from joining the battle. She conjures a barrier around them, putting all the pressure on Kella to handle things solo. Inside the statue, Kella spots the source controlling it right above his head. He immediately aims at it, but before he can act, the giant spider traps him in its web. Kella curses under his breath, wondering why the spider had to show up at the worst possible moment. He hears Sfrills shouting that they can't hold out much longer, so all the responsibility falls squarely on him. The spider sharpens its next attack, and Kella can't help but wonder if now's really the moment to pull out Hell's power. Suddenly, the entity inside his consciousness starts scolding him for getting beaten by these pathetic monsters. But this time, Kella snaps back, questioning why the entity only shows up now. The voice silences him and advises him to use the vassal ability. It explains that no matter how weak Kella feels now, he has the power to control monsters of this level with vassal. Curious, Kella wonders if it's some kind of servant contract like the one he has with Rin, but the entity drags him through a harsh lecture instead. It reveals that Kella carries the blood of the great Demon King passed down through generations, and Vassal is the Demon King's innate ability that manifests when he has a strong enough desire. Kella listens as the entity insists he must unleash the greed encoded in his blood. Once he does, any being weaker than him will become his vassal. The entity commands him to claim every monster within his reach on this land. With that, Kella unlocks the vassal ability and locks eyes with the spider's soul. He keeps repeating the words of command, declaring the monster his. Soon the spider freezes, and Kella senses the appearance of vassal slots, like item slots in a game appearing in his mind. Instinctively, he knows the treasure spider now belongs to him, marking a game-changing moment in their battle. The golems keep pounding the barrier like it's their full-time job, so Subais throws up her hands and tells Kella to step up and do something. Kella tells her to hold tight just a bit longer while he hops onto a spider's back and climbs to the top of the statue like he owns the place. When he's close enough, he makes a slick leap and uses his vassal ability to snatch control of the dungeon's master like a boss. Suddenly, the golems freeze mid-smash, leaving Rin and Sreels with their jaws on the floor, totally shook. Wood points at Kella, who's casually riding a spider with a slime in his hand like it's no big deal. Turns out this slime was the actual owner of the dungeon all along, just flexing with some upgraded superior magic. Kella's over the moon, finally getting to touch a slime. Meanwhile, Sreels is throwing shade because she's never even heard of Vassal, probably because she's not even in the Demon King's family tree. Rin, on the other hand, pieces together how Hela managed to boss around all those demonic monsters. Kella drops the mic by saying now it's gonna be a cakewalk to build their own dungeon since he's claimed the original owner. Then he goes full name drop mode and calls the slime Stone, which instantly makes Rin green with envy. Sreels demands a turn with Vassal too, but Kella puts her in her place, saying it's not some share the love kind of deal. Wood gets curious about who pumped the slime up to superior status, while Rin throws out a theory that the original creators might have bounced ages ago, given the dungeon's busted state. Sreels jumps in with her own dark take that maybe the whole crew got wiped out fighting humans. Kella feels a bit sorry for poor lonely Slimestone and is low-key proud to have claimed it as his own. Then he starts wondering about some mysterious voice he chats with in his subconscious, the one who probably saved his sorry hide this time around. He tries to concentrate hard to catch that entity again, but ends up looking like a total dork doing deep thinking with a slime in his hands, so he just bails on the deep thoughts and dives into dungeon construction instead. With Stone as his vassal, Kella now commands not just the slime but all the demonic monsters under Stone's thumb. To avoid getting caught by Talkin, they set up an impressive security setup, scouts circling the perimeter, baby spiders guarding the entrance, half the golems split between the forks, and the rest, plus the mother spiders, holding down the middle hall like pros. Then it's gear up time with weapons pulled from the chest by the stone statue. Rin's skeptical about the daggers she's holding, but Sreels schools her on how these bad boys amp up her demonic power, making her fists look like amateur hour. Rin's pumped now, imagining herself training hard to protect Kella from the white Talkin like some badass hero. Wood picks a wooden shield, all serious about how it keeps its moisture and channels nature's energy. Typical elf vibes. Kella just lets him do his thing because elves do have their own weird senses. Sreels grabs a grimoire that looks plain but probably packs a punch. When it's Kella's turn to pick a sword, Sreels points him to the one with the strongest demonic power, but Kella's heart is locked on the sword she calls weak. Why? Because it looks like the sword he used back in the game, and nostalgia hits harder than a truck. After grabbing what they need, they use Kella's map to start crafting the dungeon. The land's barren AF, so the materials are weak sauce, just dirt, stone, and water. But with Wood's architecture skills and Srowel's magic, they mash everything together to build a dungeon that screams Earth Demon meets Arsol. It's rough around the edges and far from fancy, but it's the first dungeon made straight from Kella's blueprint, the first and maybe the last. Kella locks Stone up in a cage like some exotic pet bird, but the slimes oddly chill with it, so whatever. He figures life won't be too bad as long as they keep talking out of their hair. Of course, he totally jinxes it because, surprise surprise, Curdley's butterflies have somehow sniffed out this dungeon already, like, couldn't catch a break, huh? When the Arsol mages are busting their butts, sweating blood and tears to rebuild their city from the ruins, the so-called higher-ups are just sitting pretty, busy cooking up some shady politics. Hayden, the court mage with a chip on his shoulder, throws major shade at Arsol's leader, calling him out for getting humiliated by a traitor and a coward. Like, seriously, how embarrassing is that? He snaps at the guy to summon the strongest elemental mages ASAP. Then Hayden demands they hand over enhancement stones, personally blessed by the king, but the leader's too stubborn to drag in Arsol's mages since the Talkin of the White is already on the move. Hayden doesn't care though. His ego's on overdrive and insists that Arsol's mages need to hunt down Kella first, just to save face and wipe that embarrassing stain off their reputation. The leader's worried about the side effects of these enhancement stones, but Hayden loses his mind and straight up attacks him, reminding him that without Hayden, Arsol would still be stuck in the Stone Age. The leader's forced to apologize, but Hayden keeps going, ranting about needing some excuse to keep milking support from the king. Bottom line, they have to summon those penta-elemental mages right now, no excuses. As Hayden storms out of the building, he's low-key stressing that Kella's probably toast once the Talkin of White finds him, but he's determined to beat Talkin to the punch and find Kella first because losing the race would be a total L on his record. Out of nowhere, a mysterious hooded dude slides up, asking if Hayden wants to find Kella. This guy claims he's got the hookup to track Kella down, and Hayden's interest spikes instantly, like who wouldn't want a shortcut to take down their problem. Meanwhile, Kella is over here flexing about how his chair is way too extra, but Rin's quick to remind him it's perfect for a future Demon King. The real issue? They're stuck eating fish every damn meal, which is starting to wear thin even on Kella's patience. Rin's itching to go hunting farther out, but with Talkin breathing down their necks, it's a straight-up death wish. Deep down, Kella's so tired of this fish diet he's probably dreaming about a burger or something. Wood, reading the vibe like a boss, decides to level up the meal situation by hunting some carnivorous prey. While training, he figures out he can use his wooden shield like a freaking plant hacker, sending roots underground to scout for animals. It's basically underground fishing, but they still gotta keep it on the down low and play the waiting game. Hours drag by 2, then 4, and still nada. By the 6th hour, Rin's about to snap, but then Wood casually pulls out a mole like it's no big deal. Even Sreel's impressed, which is wild, and Wood's blushing like a rookie caught slippin'. Kella wonders if the mole is even edible, or if they're about to eat some weird dirt monster. Rin, not wanting to be outshined by Wood again, goes full diva and promises she'll whip up something delicious. But plot twist, she talked a big game, and the mole's skin is so tough she can't even slice it. She's about to beg Kella for help, but can already see his disappointed glare in her head, so she panics hard. Then she remembers her daggers, which can focus her mana into a pinpoint. Sounds like a solid plan, right? She nails the mana channeling at first, but things spiral out of control when her mana starts spreading like wildfire, absorbing even more energy than she can handle. She can't let go without losing control, but if this keeps up, she's gonna burn out all her mana and crash hard. Talk about biting off more than she can chew. Rin's in deep trouble now. Srills is buried in the grimoire, trying to make sense of it, but it's like reading a toddler's scribbles mixed with ancient gibberish, basic spells everywhere, yet tons of words she's never seen before. She can't even figure out the skill level of whoever wrote this mess. As she flips through the pages, something catches her eye, but before she can dig deeper, Rin's screaming cuts through the air like a fire alarm, grabbing everyone's attention. Wood wants to check out the commotion, but Srulls tells him to let Rin handle her own mess. After all, she's just cooking, not launching a disaster. Kella, sensing Rin's up to something sketchy, decides to tag along. Rin's totally stuck, but then she remembers the classes she sat through with Kella, who was so hopeless she had to memorize everything just to help him catch up later. One of those classes was all about controlling daggers, and the instructor went full-on geek mode, talking about grasping the essence of a magical weapon. The takeaway was that if you want to command those daggers, you gotta manifest magic in the exact shape you want. With enough focus, you can even create massive constructs. Now with her brain rebooted, Rin channels her mana into the shape of her daggers, trying her hardest to keep control, fueled by her fierce determination to protect Kella from the Talkin of the White. Turns out just whispering Kella's name is enough motivation because she finally pierces through the mole's tough skin. The daggers stop leeching her magic, leaving a safe magical aura around them. For once, she feels that sweet satisfaction of making those daggers truly hers, like they're extensions of her own power. Outside, Kella's getting impatient, thinking Rin's taking forever, and decides to march in, but Srills stops him. Moments later, Rin shows up holding big chunks of meat like she just won a prize. Kella's curious about the Scream Fest, but Rin plays it cool, acting like nothing happened. Wood points out she's sweating bullets, but Stokerules admits Rin was way faster than she expected. Rin's shocked by the praise, but Stokerules drops the bomb that the grimoire actually talks about moles, saying their skin is so tough underground they're basically invincible. Only swordsmen who can wield insane sword energy can slice through them. Rin's mind officially blown, but Wood gives her a genuine compliment, and even Kella props her up with promises to enjoy the meal. Rin's heart races because Kella's finally giving her some real recognition, and she's dead set on keeping that momentum so she can stick by his side. While watching Rin's growth, Srills realizes the real weak link isn't Rin or Wood, but herself. In their tight dungeon fights, she's been about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. Blaming the terrain for not using her big area magic feels like a lame excuse. She knows she needs to master magic that can pack a punch no matter the situation. Deep in the dungeon, Srill strips off extra gear and starts training hardcore. Helen trusted Kella to her care, but so far it's been Kella helping her more than the other way around. If Curdley shows up now, she'd be toast. So she sets her sights on creating her 4th circle of magic, knowing Curdley's chilling at least at the 6th circle. Going all in, she pulls out an Earthstone once used by Earth demons to boost their strength, ready to sacrifice part of her lifespan for Helen Kella's sake. But then things get wild. The grimoire flips its pages on its own, reacting to her magic like it's got a mind of its own. Words that were gibberish before suddenly burst out in a literal force, slamming into Srills like the book's holding a serious grudge against her. It's like the grimoire just turned from a dusty old manual into a spiteful beast with a personal vendetta. Sriel stands there in a pool of red liquid, totally clueless about where the heck she ended up. Suddenly, this gothic demon pops up, all dark and moody, welcoming her as the successor to the almighty Demon King's power. Sriels throws out a question if this goth freak used to follow Hel Kalden, but nope, the girl's got sass and says she served the flashier, chaotic Turk Kalden instead. Sriels is shook because that's basically her grandpa, but she's still scratching her head over how fate's playing this weird game with her. The goth demon then dives into some deep, wannabe philosopher talk about fate, but Sriels isn't here for the TED Talk. She demands some actual history on who cooked up this dungeon. The goth demon flexes, saying they've been wandering all over, leaving their creepy marks everywhere to drop enlightenment for future generations. Streakles finally catches on that this whole thing wasn't just dumb luck. She begs the goth demon to team up, but the demon's like a buzzkill, dropping the bombshell that she's just a spell, activated only by specific conditions, and can only help her trigger. Srills grits her teeth like a champ but asks for the secret sauce to beat the fourth circle. The goth demon straight up says it depends on the person, because her method is basically torture, a hellish pain fest to get through the circle. Srills claims she's got the guts for it, but the goth demon warns failure means death. Srills thinks about Hel and Kella, saying she's alive only to protect Kella, so bring on the pain if it makes her stronger. The goth demon senses her iron will and starts ripping apart the magic Srills, learned then rebuilds it from scratch. Srills feels pain that's next level torture, but she pushes through like a boss for her goal. The goth demon just watches, probably betting on how long Srills can last before breaking. Meanwhile, Kella's got a bad feeling cause something was off about Srills earlier, so he's on a mission to find her. He stumbles upon a giant bubble with Shrins bleeding inside like a mess, and he instantly tries slicing through it, but the barrier spell laughs at his weak attempts. He calls out to her but she's frozen, probably too busy being a human pincushion. Elsewhere, the Talkin of the White Squad rolls up where the unicorns dropped Kella and the crew. Curdley's butterfly intel says there are a mind-blowing 427 islands in the area. Killian thinks it's clutch that Kella came all the way here because he can flex his powers to scan every island at once. His strike lights up the whole place like some fireworks show, and even his own team is shook by the spectacle. But Killian, cool as ice, tells them to split up and find Kella already. Back to Kella, he keeps pounding the bubble, but it's like hitting a brick wall. He sees Srills bleeding out and wants to rush in, but then a sudden tremor and weird sound freeze him in his tracks. He wonders if it's an earthquake or just another freaky disaster waiting to wreck their day. Kella starts off noticing a sound, but his surveillance system aka demonic birds spot Killian causing chaos and quickly alert Stone the slime. Stone in turn starts beeping like an anxious alarm clock to get Kella's attention. Somehow their signals make it clear that people in white clothes are nearby. That instantly sets Kella on edge, realizing it must be Talkin of the White. This makes him think that Strauland is caught under one of Curdley's spells, so he rushes to find the others without wasting a second. Kella tells Rin and Wood to hide in the bunker since the White Talkin is close to the dungeon. The two immediately gear up to go grab Strauland's, but Kella explains that she's already been taken by Curdley's magic as they run. When they reach the bunker, Stone joins them and the four quickly jump inside to stay safe. Kella apologizes quietly to Strauland's, feeling guilty for not being able to do more, and uses his magic to seal the bunker entrance. Meanwhile, Killian lands on the next island like some sort of self-appointed chaos superhero, but he smells the disgusting magic power and covers his nose. The transmission informs Kella that a white-haired man with a sword has appeared at the dungeon entrance. Ryan immediately realizes that Killian is now right on their tail, and Kella understands that they're in serious trouble if Killian sees through their illusion blocking the entrance. As expected, Killian, being incredibly powerful, sees through the entrance illusion on his very first try. He's about to destroy the place with his sword to get to Kella, but then he stops, knowing that blowing up the dungeon would give away their position and alert others. He's also strangely petty, not letting even his companions get to his target, especially not the maniac Deed. So he steps inside the dungeon determined to finish everyone himself. Stone alerts Kella that Killian has entered, so Kella calls all the monsters in the dungeon to mount a full defense. The monsters block Killian's path, a mix of golems and treasure spiders, but Killian swiftly cuts through them all with one strike of his sword. Kella panics, realizing Killian is even stronger than he'd feared. Killian reaches a fork in the path, glances around and picks one randomly, because honestly he doesn't seem to care much. But Kella's panic spikes when he sees Killian has chosen the path leading to Srills, who's clearly in no condition to defend herself. Audrea goes full pyro, torching an entire island like it's a backyard BBQ, but shocker, no sign of Kella. Meanwhile, Curdley's out there flexing her magic in Butterfly Squad, trying the same desperate scavenger hunt. Kalka and Deed are pulling a similar blank on their islands, but Deed's got a smirk. He knows if Killian beats him to Kella and crew, his meal ticket just ghosted. Talk about biting nails waiting for a snack that's already gone cold. Killian strolls up to the bubble and finds Srills trapped inside, but instead of a reunion, he throws shade calling her the traitor of Talkin like it's a casual insult. Since day one, Killian's been a sword prodigy, making his brother Kilman look like a total wannabe. Kilman's salty about it, always getting his ego stomped by their instructor, who basically said everyone else would need a century just to catch Killian's heels. Kilman's frustration was peak cringe, and Killian's half-hearted apologies sounded more like a mockery. From birth, Killian's been holding a sword next to his bro, but his life was as exciting as watching paint dry, until he saw Srills grinding hard in training. Suddenly, that dull existence got a little spice. She was like a wild animal clawing for survival, and her fierce glare was the only thing that could thaw the Ice Prince's cold heart. Too bad they were stuck in different zones, like star-crossed gym buddies who couldn't even share a dumbbell. Still, Killian was low-key a softie. giving up his own medical supplies for her because she kept breaking herself like a clumsy rookie. The instructor caught on and teased Killian mercilessly, but our icy boy just dipped, blaming cereals for being too loud and obvious. Like that made any sense. Years rolled by, but Killian kept delivering those meds like some awkward, clingy daddy longlegs. The instructor was ready to step out and let Killian deliver the goods himself, since they'd be apart for years, but he refused like a stubborn toddler. Meanwhile, Cereals was salty, being the only one who needed extra medical supplies out of everyone. Killian still daydreams that if Cereals had stuck by his side, they'd have been unstoppable white-talkin' warriors. They'd have shrugged off her Demon King lineage like it was just a bad Tinder match, and stayed fierce together. But now he's convinced she got swallowed whole by her own overconfidence, biting off more than she could chew. Calling it fate, he draws his sword and slices through the bubble with one cold-ass strike. Cereals drops unconscious and Killian does not show even a flicker of emotion. Meanwhile, Rin's losing her mind, screaming to save Cereals, but Kella's the cold realist, saying Cereals is locked tight in a magic cage and no amount of screaming or blade slashing is cracking that barrier. Kella's low-key panicking because this isn't the old playground fight anymore. He might actually die this time. Then bam! A loud crash echoes from outside. The Ice Prince has arrived, dragging Sue by the neck like she's nothing but a rag doll. He storms into the bunker room with all the warmth of a freezer aisle. Kella's gut screams that it's game over. Killian can sense traces of recent activity in the old dungeon, so he confidently announces that he knows Kella is watching him, throwing shade like he's already got the upper hand. He threatens Kella to come out if he wants to save Subais, basically calling him out to stop hiding like a scared little loser. Kella is watching as expected, but he knows they wouldn't stand a chance even if they attacked Killian all at once. Now cornered, Rin suggests Kella escape through the passage behind the statue while she and Wood distract Killian. Both Rin and Wood argue that Kella is the heir to the Demon King's bloodline, so he has to survive no matter what. Kella seems hesitant, probably doubting his own guts, but Rin and Wood are persistent, pushing the point that he must survive at all costs. With that, Rin bursts out of the bunker with Wood close behind her, ready to throw down like it's do or die. Killian views both of them as crawling insects, clearly unimpressed, but Rin and Wood start attacking him anyway, throwing punches like desperate nobodies. Wood blocks Killian's view with his shield while telling Kella to make his escape, playing the loyal bodyguard to perfection. Kella apologizes to both of them as he slips away, knowing full well he can't come back if he dies this time. No second chances in this reality. Rin watches Kella run away, but she's got no time to sob because Killian has started attacking again, demanding to know about Kella. Rin answers coolly that Kella was never here in the first place, while Wood stays silent and grabs Killian's arm, trying to hold him back. Killian remains unimpressed by the combination of a demon and a dark elf as he disarms Rin and presses a sword against her neck, then yanks his hand away to grab Wood by the throat like he's swatting a fly. Rin yells that they will never tell him about Kella's whereabouts, but Killian has the audacity to say he didn't even ask. He claims it would make his job easier if Kella appears, but if he doesn't, Killian will simply destroy them all. Talk about cold confidence. Rin is now scared because of Killian's ghastly eyes. She has never seen a look even among demons as empty and terrifying, like a bottomless void devoid of emotion. Killian increases his grip on both of them. Rin is really scared, but the memory of Kella gives her the courage to tell Killian to end her for Kella's sake. Wood shares the same commitment, standing firm. Killian is surprised that Kella got such loyal subordinates, and as a sign of respect, he decides to finish them both in a single strike. However, Kella appears like a wannabe hero, striking out angry that Killian called Rin and Wood his subordinates. Killian doesn't even bat an eye at Kella's appearance, but Rin and Wood are baffled to see him return. Apparently, Kella is back because he realized this isn't a game. Once you die, it's over. But that's true for Rin, Wood, and Srills as well. They have fought, traveled, and risked their lives together, so there's no way Kella would abandon his friends now. Kella insists with a stubborn edge that Killian let go of his friends, since his real target is here now. Surprisingly, Killian actually does release the two of them, driven by a burning desire for revenge against Kella, because Hell took out his brother. Kella, having dealt with plenty of Killian types both in games and real life, knows this isn't over. Killian will keep chasing him like a dog on a bone until he finally gets what he wants. As Kella launches into his attack, Rin pipes up wanting to join the fight, but Kella, with no time for newbie heroics, orders them to get Sorrels somewhere safe. Rin is ready to argue as usual, but Wood shuts her down, coldly pointing out they're more liabilities than help in their current state. Rin, surprised by Wood's rare emotional display, is still told again by Kella to comply, so she begrudgingly bites her tongue and follows orders. The fight rages on, but Killian's eyes keep darting to Sorrels. Clearly distracted, Kella, not missing a beat, calls him out, reminding him that the real focus should be on him. Killian, impressed in his own brutal way, notes that it's wild for a demon like Kella to have enough emotions to stall for his underling's escape. Still, he mocks those emotions as the biggest weakness he can exploit to wipe out the great Demon King's line once and for all. Even Kella knows Killian is playing on a whole different level of danger as his trembling legs and shaky body don't lie. But now that Kella knows he is, he's ready to unleash the full unfiltered power of the great Demon King without holding back. He strikes, pouring everything into the attack. Yet this display only clues Killian in that Srigul's wasn't the only one who neutralized Arsul. Meanwhile, Kella feels reborn, like a completely new force awakened. But as always, Killian dupes the vibe, coldly stating that no matter the power-up, Kella's fate is sealed. Kella takes the brutal hit and the dungeon begins to crumble around them. Rin fears for Kella, but Wood snaps her back to reality, reminding her their priority is to get Srils to safety. Gritting her teeth, Rin hauls ass toward the dungeon exit. Elsewhere, Kella's wild, sloppy attack manages to slice Killian's cloak, but it's not skill that's the problem, it's that Kella can't control his power. Worse, every time he uses it, it feels like his body's being shredded from the inside out. Killian, ever the cold observer, notices that Kella's power is basically eating away at his own life force like a parasite. Kella snaps and lunges again, but the noise risks drawing Deed to the dungeon, so Killian decides to cut this circus short. With a swift, flawless move, Killian disarms Kella and follows up with a crushing strike to the chest. He tells Kella to tell his father in hell that he was sent here as punishment for the sin of ending Killman. The final blow is so devastating that Kella's regeneration can't keep pace, leaving him to wonder if this is really how his story ends. A tragic and messy downfall. Rin and Wood finally burst out, but the dungeon behind them looks like it's about to crumble into dust any second now, like some cheap set piece ready to fall apart. Wood, ever the stickler for orders, insists on sticking to the plan, while Rin argues that since Kella risked coming back for them, bolting and ditching him would be straight up disrespectful, and frankly a coward move. Wood pauses, trying to wrap his head around it, then reminds Rin they were told to get Srils to safety, but after that no follow-up orders, so maybe it's time to stop playing by the book and think for themselves. Meanwhile, Kella's still roasting in that blue flame, and it's beating his regeneration like a boss. He's convinced this is the end, ready to cash out on life, when suddenly Rin pops out like a ninja and goes ham on Killian. But Killian is calm as ever. He just yanks the sword right out of Kella's gut and starts blocking Rin's flailing attacks like it's a casual Sunday fight. Wood shows up behind Killian, tying him up faster than you can say plot twist. Kella's in disbelief that these clowns actually came back. The duo drops the loophole bomb in Killian's orders, declaring they won't be bailing until the fat lady sings. Kella's heart actually softens for a moment. Would he ever meet friends dumb enough to risk their lives for him? Hell no. His so-called father was a drunk who beat him daily, and his friends were just backstabbing vultures. So Kella escaped into games, the ultimate no-grass turf, never looking back. But now, in this messed up world, there are people who'd literally die for him. That thought pumps him up and he charges Killian again, roaring about never backing down. Killian knows this fight's gonna drag until someone flatlines. Outside the dungeon, Deed spots the island where Killian's playing solo, and figures his captain's out here having a blast, while everyone else does the heavy lifting. No way that's gonna slide. Meanwhile, Srils convulses in the so-called safe zone, but isn't waking up anytime soon. Back in the dungeon, Killian's handling 3 demons like it's a one-man show and mocks them for thinking numbers mean jack. Kella's position is getting desperate, cracks showing like a busted phone screen. Healing or stalling is pointless. He tells Rin and Wood to bail so he can go full throttle alone, but those two are ready to ride or die with him till the bitter end. Kella's worried, but Killian's deadpan assurance that they'll all die by his hand isn't exactly comforting. Kella's thought this is the end more times than he can count, but then a loud explosion rips through the tension, freezing everyone mid-action, like the universe just hit the pause button. Out of nowhere, Surly's makes a flashy entrance that leaves everyone slack-jawed. What's even more jaw-dropping is that she's already got a beaten-up Deed in her grip, tossing him aside like yesterday's gum talk about disrespect. Finally, she locks eyes with Killian, who's visibly shocked that she managed to claw her way out of the abyss of pain. Even he admits he never thought she'd outshine Curdly, the supposed standard. Srls casually drops that she spent double the time in the abyss, and to everyone's disbelief reveals she now wields the power of the 6th circle. Even Killian, Mr. Ice Prince himself, finds himself intrigued, his heart inexplicably racing for her. Srls wastes no time unleashing dark regeneration to heal everyone in a blink, but even this simple gesture has Killian craving her more. Bro has some hella complicated feelings. However, Srils isn't about to let her anger slide after Killian tried to mess with her brother. She casts the Mist of Oblivion, a spell that blinds and scrambles senses, throwing Killian into disarray. Killian quickly realizes this isn't your average blinding magic like Curdly's. It's a whole different beast. Just as he's scheming an escape, the demons swarm him, but his body moves on pure instinct, dodging their attacks like a pro. Srils acknowledges his strength and strikes with corroding dark hand, trying to melt his armor. Killian's instincts flare again, ripping the corroded armor off before it can do real damage. But Srils was totally ready for this, signaling the others that now's their shot. Wood locks Killian down while Rin swings her sword, though Killian blocks it effortlessly. Srills seizes the moment and binds Killian's other hand with greedy thorns, effectively cuffing all 4 limbs. Breaking free wouldn't be rocket science for Killian, but the lost sight and sense of direction is a major pain in the neck, so he focuses on dismantling the spell first. Srills yells for everyone to finish this before Killian can shake off the magic. Kella knows this window won't open again, so he pushes his power to the max, even if it means wrecking his own body. He manages to sever Killian's sword arm clean off, but here's the kicker. He aimed for the head and Killian somehow dodged it like a cheat code. Killian admits he got distracted because of Srills, then powers up like Superman with laser eyes blazing. Srills urgently tells Kella to watch his back, because things just got way more intense. The 2 boys were bound by a rope, stuck together like some sad, low-budget duo nobody asked for. Young Killman was obviously sweating bullets about where their father was dragging them off to, but the guy tried to calm him down like it was a walk in the park. He hyped it up as a special day where they'd get to meet the so-called divine beast of light, Rumiaran. Killman, sharp enough to see through obvious BS, knew meeting a divine beast wasn't a casual meetup. He fretted that maybe they'd messed up big time, but Dad doubled down on reassurance, claiming they were so perfect they'd be worthy offerings. Yeah, right, like that's supposed to make anyone feel better. The adults piled on the praise for Killian, acting like he was some shiny trophy made just for Rumiaran. They gushed about his skin glowing like serpent scales, and his icy blue eyes resembling the cold moonlight. Turns out they were prepping the kids to be sacrificed, all for some supposed eternal prosperity of the village. Killian started crying, catching on to the grim reality that they were basically on the chopping block. But Killian, ever the overconfident one, acted like they weren't going to die. The cult kicked off their summoning ritual, shoving both Killian and Killian toward the well. Then the divine being of light, Rumiaran, appeared, eyeing his sacrifices with what probably was zero chill. Suddenly, Killian locked eyes with Rumiaran and unleashed a blinding laser power from his eyes, sending Kella and Rin crashing into the walls like ragdolls. Meanwhile, Wood just hides behind his shield, clearly not about that light show life. Srills curses, furious that her magic shattered like it's nothing more than a cheap party trick. But Killian's rage turns nuclear because Kella's dad offed his brother Killman, and Kella himself claimed Subiles and even took off his arm. Now Killian is ready to turn Kella's world into an endless hell, no chill at all. Kella knows the Ice Prince won't stop until one of them is dead, so he has to end it then and there. Summoning all his Demon King power, he dares Killian to step forward to his doom. As they lock eyes in a tense stare down, Srills notices Kella's power skyrocketing fast enough to maybe take down Killian. But just as hope flickers, the rest of the White Talkin teleport behind Killian, yelling their lungs out like they're trying to start a riot. Srills realizes they're totally outmatched, and suggests running, but shockingly, Kella doesn't even blink at the distraction. His only focus is Killian. Same deal for the Ice Prince. Both are dead set on ending each other, which Srills knows is the dumbest move ever, so she uses Dark Devour, engulfing Rin, Wood, and Kella in purple goo and disappearing like a ghost. Killian ends up punching the goo, which vanishes into thin air like some lame magic trick. The White Talkin are left speechless because only a 6th circle or higher mage can pull off Dark Devour, and even Curdley is baffled someone reaches that level so fast. She eyes Killian's battered form with serious side-eye. Meanwhile, Audria is mad as hell about the demon snatching Killian's arm, and Kalka is furious they subdued Deed. Killian stays quiet but brews a storm, ready to give Kella a fate worse than death. Srills' Dark Devour teleports Kella far away, but the guy is so hyped he immediately starts hunting for Killian to end this saga once and for all. Srills, however, grabs him in a bear hug and promises they're safe, no Killian in sight. Kella finally snaps out of his rage and looks around to check if everyone is still breathing. Rin and Wood reassure him, and Kella starts crying like a total mess. Seeing him bawl like a baby hits everyone else's soft spot, and they let him have his emotional meltdown. Because hey, even the toughest demons need a moment to cry it out. Kella is bawling his eyes out like a total drama queen over the fact that everyone actually survived. Sirs watches him with this proud smirk but can't resist flexing a bit, bragging that she endures the abyss all the way to the 6th circle, and lives to tell the tale. Her victory lap gets cut short when Kella, out of nowhere, just hugs her, leaving her standing there like a deer caught in headlights. Turns out he was ready to throw in the towel on her, convinced that Curdley had already taken her down. He thanks her, all emotional and mushy, for surviving, but Sirls claps back with loyalty on lock. She will never leave him hanging. Meanwhile, Rin stares so hard at them you'd think she's trying to read their souls. Kella doesn't miss a beat and throws some gratitude her and Wood's way for making it back alive, but those two just throw all the credit back at Kella like he's the MVP or something. Sirls is just glad they at least managed to chop off Killian's arm, and did not all end up as demon dust. Kella is relieved too, but deep down he knows everyone has his back, even when he tries playing the lone wolf and failing miserably. He admits he's still the same scared little Kella, but makes a vow to never run away solo again, and promises to get stronger than anyone else. The squad finally looks around, scratching their heads, wondering where the heck they have landed. Sreedals explains that her teleportation magic is lightning fast, but has a mind of its own when it comes to picking destinations. Rin freaks out, imagining they could have landed right in the middle of Tolua's den, but Sreedals puts her on chill mode, explaining the demon magic only works in spots soaked with sinister energy. They need to figure out their current location, and Wood is curious how Sreedals manages to reach the 6th circle so fast. Sreedals drops the plan to spill all the tea over drinks, since she's been holding back for decades, which is obviously an invitation they can't refuse. Kella is on board too, but with the excuse of wanting to scout the area, probably to make himself feel useful for once. Meanwhile, on the other side, Curdley is busy patching up Killian's bleeding stump. Deed, ever the chaotic wildcard, insists he can still fight one-armed, but Kalka isn't having any of Deed's big mouth, and threatens him to zip it. Of course, Deed just smirks like it's a joke, clearly not fazed. Audrea is fuming about the demons, while Killian admits he totally dropped the ball after finding out Sriles hit the 6th circle. Deed, rubbing his hands in delight, promises to personally end Sriles, clearly salty that she embarrassed him by beating him. But Killian, with a twisted plan brewing, contemplates making City Kingsledy Woods his own prize. Curdley points out Killian's arm is in bad shape, and they need to haul back and summon the 12 sacred healers ASAP. Audrea is itching to chase demons down, but Curdley coldly reminds her they have zero tracking on Kella's crew right now. Audrea keeps yapping, but Killian shuts her down, saying going solo against City Eels is dumb, and they have to retreat to Taloa first. Audrea keeps flapping her gums, but Killian assures her they will hunt down Kella and Sriles again once he's patched up. He's practically clawing to get at them himself. Back with Kella's party, they kick back, drinking like there's no tomorrow, and acting like their biggest problem is what to order next. Kella is just relieved to see Sriles back to her usual badass self. Sriles starts dropping some serious lore, explaining that the grimoire she found in the dungeon isn't your run-of-the-mill spellbook. It reacts to her mana and introduces her to Periel, an 8-circle magician and comrade of the Demon King Turk. Basically a big deal. It's Periel's lingering shadow that schooled Sriles in her training methods. Kella's jaw hits the floor at the news, while Rin jumps in, theorizing that the dungeon must have been crafted by Turk himself. Sriles confirms it, saying their dungeon run was fate, maybe even pulled in by the Demon King's bloodline. Kella is shook, realizing Turk has been meddling in his so-called free will all along, and wonders how a dead guy can still mess with the living. That's when it hits him like a ton of bricks. The one he's been meeting in the abyss isn't some random spirit, but Turk Khaldun himself. Kella ponders over Turk Khaldun, but Sriles jumps in with her take, dropping the bomb that the flow of time in the abyss is totally warped. The time she supposedly spent there turns out the equivalent of 28 grueling years. Rin's jaw practically hits the floor, but Sriles coolly clarifies that it was more like an eternity. The pain in the abyss didn't just hurt, it shredded her entire body without a single moment's rest. A relentless nightmare where the urge to just give up and die was a constant and nagging shadow. Pariel dragged her all the way to the 6th circle, but the torment was so savage that Sriles nearly snapped and wanted to attack Pariel herself at times. Sriles can't even begin to imagine the kind of hell Pariel had to endure to reach the 8th circle, and just thinking about it makes her tremble like a leaf caught in a storm. She wisely decides to quit dwelling on it since Rin's already looking like she's about to lose it. Rin chimes in, pointing out that Sriles spent decades in the abyss training while her mind was stuck on the gang. Kella feels a pang of guilt for not protecting anyone better, but Sriles shrugs off the pity like it's yesterday's trash and demands more praise for hitting the 6th circle. Rin obliges, spitting out compliments like it's her only talent or something. Kella notices that even though Sriles is laughing, there's definitely some dark secret lurking behind that smile. The gang finally wonders where the heck they are, and Sriles takes a wild guess. The outskirts of Karta, the hidden city of darkness. Rin knows Karta as the place where demons stockpile their knowledge, like some creepy shadowy library of evil. Sriles adds that Karta is tucked so far deep in the west, even beyond the Demon King's castle, that humans haven't dared invade it yet. Rin breathes a sigh of relief and begs for a break, because her body feels like it's been run over by a demon tank. Sriles explains that her breakdown is thanks to Killian exposing her to the blue sword. Even Kella shudders at the thought of that nightmare-level pain and declares they're crashing here for a few days. Everyone hits their beds, but Kella decides to take a stroll instead. Sriles conks out instantly, but Rin's mind won't shut up. She's obsessed with her daggers, suspecting they hide some secret tied to Turk's era. She's low-key jealous of how Kella hugged Sriles, feeling like she's losing this silent competition. Even Wood's restless, whispering to his shield and vowing to get stronger so he never messes up like that again. Once Kella steps outside, he summons Stone from his magic pouch. Kella still can't fully handle his powers. He knows how to pull weapons out of thin air with Demon King magic and boss around his vassals, but in the recent chaos, he didn't land a single proper hit. It's like grinding XP in a game. No way he can slack off on leveling up. He absolutely needs to master the Demon King's full powers before facing Killian again. What Kella doesn't know is that a pair of sharp eyes are watching him from the shadows. An ominous crow perches on the wrist of the court mage, spilling tea about everything that went down with the White Talkin and Srells hitting the 6th circle. The court mage looks shook, but the creepy companion with him thinks it's a blessing in disguise. Finally, a shot at taking down Kella's crew. The court mage doubts they can even track the group, especially since the White Talkin himself lost them once. But the wild-eyed guy insists there's no other choice, and admits he even knows Kella's chilling in Carta right now. The whole scene reeks of brewing trouble, like the calm before a savage storm. The gang dives into the chaotic energy of the bustling demon city, soaking in the vibe, but Kella's mind is laser-focused on mastering the Demon King's power once and for all. Rin tries to hype him up, telling him he's leveling up fast, but Wood throws a serious warning her way to not spilling Kella's secret identity. Not even here in demon territory. Of course, the demons around them can't resist roasting Kella as the weakest link, tossing shade like it's a game show. Srells loses her cool over their clueless trash talk, and even Rin jumps in to clap back. But Kella, cool as ever, just decides to dip and avoid the noise. Still, those two girls can't stand the disrespect, especially since Kella's power has definitely grown. But Kella knows his limits and he's not about to rush it. Instead, he's got his sights set on building the ultimate dungeon to prove his worth. Srells finally catches on to his game plan, so they set course for the ancient library in the city, hoping to score some clues on how to control his power. When they hit the library, the security hits them like a brick wall. Wood flexes his elf senses and spots a hidden passage leading to a room that's pulsing with a totally different energy from the rest of the place. Turns out, thanks to the Dragon Stone, he can now pick up on energies as well as terrain, like some next-level sensory upgrade. They figure the crazy tight security means there's something major locked away, so Wood's tasked with finding a way in. As they sneak deeper, they catch the sound of guards coming, and Srells drops a veil of invisibility on the whole squad, making them ghost-like to the patrol. Navigating through a maze of traps, they don't sweat the layout because Wood's got their backs. But of course, things go sideways when Wood accidentally triggers a trap, setting off the alarm. Srells tries to cover their tracks with illusion magic, but it's glitching, and guards are charging in fast. Classic maneuver. Everyone scrambles into a nearby closet, holding their breath. The guards find nada, brush it off as a false alarm, and don't even peek inside the glaringly obvious cabinets, where Kella is low-key living his best life, flanked by two women like he's the Demon City's hottest bachelor. Once the coast is clear, Wood points them toward the secret room, and they haul ass there immediately. They're stopped by a massive door emblazoned with a warning that only the worthy may gain the knowledge inside. Even Srells is stumped by the door's magic, but Kella steps up, pouring his magic into it. The door reacts and swings open because apparently, the only ones worthy of this knowledge are those with the Demon King's bloodline. Talk about exclusive VIP access. Inside, they enter the Sepia Sapientia, or Ancient Wisdom for those who don't like fancy names. But the real shocker? A black elf kid chilling inside who shocks everyone like she is a ghost visiting from another dimension. The little girl is just as stunned but keeps her cool enough to introduce herself politely as Roran, the keeper of this secretive place. Roran skips around like she just won the lottery, delighted because it's been a whopping 47 years since she last had visitors. Talk about a long dry spell. Srells quickly steps in to remind everyone to show some respect, sensing a massive surge of magical power radiating from the kid. Roran wastes no time, rattling off facts about Srells crossing the abyss and Kella being the great Demon King's bloodline, and then she surprises everyone by hugging Wood with wild enthusiasm, recognizing him as kin. She even senses Draconis' energy from him, although Wood's standing there completely clueless about what she's on about. Kella can't help but question the warm welcome after they basically had to sneak in through a secret door tight enough to keep out the apocalypse. But Roran explains that simply reaching this place proves their worth. She wouldn't just let any fool waltz in and mess with such precious knowledge. Reeve's jaw drops at her blunt insult toward humans, whom Roran calls fools for their habit of looting and burning everything in sight. Kella starts having that gut feeling. This elf might actually hold the answers he's been hunting for, but what blindsides him is that she's also clued in on his quest to fully control his powers. With a cheeky smirk, Roran admits it's no walk in the park, and summons a bunch of ancient books with a flick of her spell, proudly announcing she found the exact answer Kella needs: the Demon King's crystal, the key to mastering his power. Kella's hearing about this for the first time, so Roran dives into the history lesson. The crystal was once whole but shattered into 3 pieces by humans during the Great Magic War. Yeah, that war from 3,000 years ago, then hidden across different continents. Srells gasps, realizing the ancient scale of this battle. Roran explains humans couldn't fully erase the Demon King's power, so they just broke the crystal and stashed the shards in Lunia, Rudin, and Kadum. Kella's still not quite getting it, so she spells it out. The crystal acts as a vessel to contain the Demon King's immense power that his body alone can't handle. Suddenly it clicks for Kella, gathering all 3 crystal pieces could let him wield the pure blood Demon King's power. just like Hell and Turk. And then, like a whispered plot twist, Roran tells him in his head that because he's not pure blood, this is literally his only shot at using that level of power. Kella's stunned, but Rin cuts in, eager to know where these crystals are hiding. Roran reveals she knows the location of the first shard because she once met Turk Kaldun himself. The gang's collective shock is palpable as Roran switches into projector mode, recounting how Turk started his quest to find the crystals and saved her people from humans long ago. Despite rumors branding Turk as the cruelest demon king ever, she insists those stories are human propaganda. She's bummed Turk died before she could thank him, but is genuinely glad to have met his descendant Senkella. She even thanks Kella on Turk's behalf, which makes Kella realize this Turk character sounds way different from the villainous image he'd been fed. Then Roran chirps that the first crystal rests in Mortawarum, the Demon King's graveyard, where countless Demon King souls slumber. She doesn't know where the other shards are, but even one piece will crank Kella's strength up a notch. The gang wonders why humans would hide such a crystal in a demon's resting place, and Roran explains that the crystal's presence is what cursed those Demon King souls to become wandering undead. Even demons find the graveyard nearly impossible to enter since it's booby-trapped with vile human magic. Crystals clenches her teeth at humanity's audacity, but Roran remains cheerfully unfazed, deciding to gift Kella a protection spell that boosts his defense and eases the strain of using the Demon King's power. Kella immediately feels the difference coursing through his body. Roran also hands Cyril's an upgraded grimoire, perfect for a 6th circle mage like her, and urges her to put it to good use. Roran, never missing a chance to beg for freebies, pesters Roran for a gift too, so the little elf gives her a petal from an ancient tree, telling her to keep it safe for now. Then Roran turns to Wood, explaining that he carries the seed of Draconis within him, which will awaken in time. Wood's still lost, but she assures him to just be patient. Finally, Roran announces that the graveyard lies about 6 days north of Karta, but entry is no joke because of the Blood Mist, a magical barrier from the Great Magic War that reads your mind and drags out your deepest fears or desires. One wrong step in that mist and some or all of them could die instantly. The tension spikes and the gang knows they're stepping into a nightmare-level challenge that'll test everything they've got. Rems and the others are fully determined to get the crystal since they've already come so far. Quitting now would be like leaving a binge watch halfway through, simply unacceptable. Roran smiles slyly, sensing the world is on the brink of another major shakeup. When the group asks her to join their journey, she declines, citing her age and the responsibility of guarding this place. Kella thinks it would be epic to have such a powerful ally, but Roran firmly announces it's time for them to move on. They express their gratitude, but she hints that having visitors after such a long time is gift enough. Before they leave, she warns them not to eat in the graveyard because that's a surefire way to anger the dead. The group takes her words seriously as she waves them off with the kind of tired but affectionate gesture only a grandma can master. After the encounter, the gang reflects on the meeting, with Kella noting that Turk's influence seems to be growing steadily on this journey. Even Surim suspects their teleportation here was no accident, a move likely orchestrated by unseen forces. Since they can't change the situation, they decide to press forward toward the Demon King's graveyard, their next inevitable destination. Wood tries to boost Rim's confidence by asserting that the dead can never triumph over the living, but Rin quickly shuts down his cockiness. Meanwhile, Kella is laser-focused on finding the crystal before Killian catches up with them. He's also dreaming about building the ultimate dungeon, the one mentioned in the title. I hope back on the human side, Killian admits to the king that losing Kella was due to an unforeseen variable, aka his one-sided crush. He swears that once his arm is fully restored, he will annihilate Kella's group without fail. The king's anger is palpable, delivering a stern warning that seems to carry a heavy weight. Killian responds by swearing on his life not to fail again, a solemn vow that underscores the stakes. Curdley advises Killian to reconsider using the forbidden art because its success rate is less than 40%, essentially a risky gamble. Despite her concerns, Killian insists on proceeding, confident that his willpower will override any complications. Curdley still warns that transplanting the summoned Ludwig's arm may bring Ludwig's will along, but Killian counters that his own will is stronger and urges her to begin. With no room left to argue, Curdley starts chanting the spell, surrounded by a circle of magicians who look like they're ready to throw a magical party. When the spell completes, Ludwig appears atop Killian, who is still determined to defeat Kella and claim Skrulls. The stage is set for a fierce confrontation between wills and powers. A few days later, Kella and the gang are just a day away from the graveyard. Skrulls admires the grimoire's incredible spells, admitting some would be beyond her understanding if she were not a 6th circle mage. Rin feels a newfound familiarity with her dagger, and Wood senses a stronger connection to his shield, indicating their gear has somehow leveled up alongside them. Kella credits their encounter with Roran for this boost in strength, as if the meeting itself was a much-needed power-up. Suddenly, Wood's big ears pick up on something, and Skrulls confirms sensing holy magic footsteps approaching. Rin urges the enemy to step forward, ready to face whatever comes. The old mage Hayden appears, exuding confidence like someone who's already marked the victory in his calendar. Surreals reminds everyone that Hayden is the magic commander of Talua, an intimidating title that carries serious weight. Hayden taunts Sreels, implying that even a 6th circle mage like her is no match for a squad of high-ranking mages equipped with enhancement stones, a fact that shocks Sreels, revealing that the Emperor has been generous with his prized magical assets. Haddon then issues a grim warning, promising a painless death if they refuse to surrender, laying down the classic villainous ultimatum that leaves no room for mercy or escape. Haddon bursts onto the scene, radiating excitement as he threatens the group and launches a fierce attack, but Kella quickly cuts through the magic with a single powerful swing of his sword. The shock on Haddon's face is unmistakable, yet he commands all the mages to unleash their full power at once. The barrage of attacks is aimed straight at Kella, but Sreels conjures a shimmering shield that absorbs and diffuses the onslaught, leaving Hayden stunned because in his mind, light should obliterate darkness effortlessly. She cleverly keeps her secret that her magic is forged by the abyss itself, able to rival even the purest light, and shifts tactics by unleashing a fog of oblivion that drives the enemy mages to madness. Haddon, unfazed by the chaos among his men, escalates the fight with a celestial abyss attack aimed at capturing Sreels herself. When he follows up with a devastating strike to finish her off, Kella steps in to block it with precision, leaving Haddon baffled that Kella, whom he considered weak, managed to stop his attack. Haddon quickly orders his remaining mages to deal with the others, while he focuses on stalling Kella and Sreels. The mages heed his call and swarm Rin, who deftly dodges every strike but knows she can't keep running forever. She retaliates by hurling her daggers with deadly accuracy, each blade flying like it has a mind of its own, instantly decapitating an enemy. Even Rin is taken aback by her weapon's uncanny obedience, and notices that the bottle Roran gave her is glowing. Clearly some serious magic is at work. Hayden casts a sidelong glance at Rin, contemplating whether her daggers might be the legendary artifacts from the era of Turkotaldum. Meanwhile, Wood deflects all incoming attacks with his shield, entering a state of enlightenment, and evolves into a knockoff version of Groot. His branches lash out, capturing and crushing the enemy mages with brutal efficiency. This transformation is revealed to be the Terra Dracanis Roran spoke of, and Wood is just beginning to grasp its full power, encouraging Rin to finish off their foes. Rin responds by launching her daggers again, swiftly slicing through the mages, leaving Hayden dumbfounded that his elite forces were defeated so quickly. Kella, on the other hand, beams with pride, realizing he's not the only one evolving. He channels his energy loudly like a Dragon Ball character powering up, and it's clear Hayden feels the mounting pressure. Deciding to push the limits, Kella summons one of Hell's forbidden arts to test its strength. Hayden, still surprised by the scale of Kella's magic, resorts to a teleportation spell and vanishes just before the attack lands. Kella and the others are stunned by the instant teleportation, but Sreels is more focused on the fact that Hayden abandoned his men without a second thought. Out of nowhere, Kella apologizes for failing to finish off their enemy, only for Sreels to confess that she held back as well, knowing Kella wanted to test his strength. This encounter, however, proves they have grown enough to take on Talawa's mages head-on. Rin puffs up with pride at finally being useful, and Wood shares her sentiment. Rin even compliments Wood on his earlier transformation, causing him to blush slightly. Kella wonders aloud how Hayden tracked them all the way here, and Sreels reveals she caught a sneaky rat lurking nearby. She brings the captive forward, and Kella and Rin instantly recognize the figure, Caldera, his long-lost sister, making yet another dramatic entrance, curious about how Kella managed to become so powerful. Hayden teleports to a secluded land, still huffing and puffing as if he just ran a marathon, because newsflash, Sreels wasn't the only one powering up in this drama. The old man's sweating bullets, worried that the Emperor will ghost him hard if he doesn't bring Kella's head as proof. So yeah, he's gotta lean on Killian's help again, because who else is going to bail him out? During the sacrificial ritual, when Killiman and Killian were about to be fed to the beast, the divine beast showed up and locked eyes with Killian like they were in some intense staring contest. The cultists freaked out and shoved the kids toward the well like it was a water slide, but Killian had his gaze locked onto the beast and got Benightment, which was basically him going full-on possessed mode. Just as the cultists were about to win the Worst People Ever award, Hayden crashed the party, refusing to let any more kids become monster snacks. Killian's dad totally lost it, but Hayden flexed his hero muscles, burning the crazy guy to a crisp in one flashy move. The dad hit the floor like a sack of bricks, but Killian was still glued to the magical beast. Hayden swooped in to rescue Killian, declaring that kids like him shouldn't be used as beast bait. Kilman was also crying like he had just lost his last cookie, so Hayden snatched him up too, running on full dad mode. After saving Killian with his own hands, Hayden's life took a 180. He brought the kids to the Hayden Magic Guild, the very one he founded. Back then, Hayden was just relieved he hadn't lost 2 kids to a monster buffet. He knew Killian had Rumiaron's light, but honestly, he had no clue what kind of cosmic cheat code that really was. Killian quickly proved to be such a powerhouse that none of the guild's instructors could touch him, not even with a 10-foot sword. Hayden's jaw dropped, like how was this kid even real? Things got wild when Killian's eyes started glowing and he burst out a blinding light so intense that everyone had to back up or risk getting fried. That was when the rulebook on powers got thrown out the window, and sometimes Killian's energy bursts accidentally turned his surroundings into a hazard zone. When Hayden tried to check on Killian's health, the kid hit back with a cold, no-nonsense voice about needing a swordsmanship instructor because apparently surviving near explosions wasn't enough. He wanted to get his blade game on point. Hayden was taken aback, realizing this kid was way out of his league. So Hayden dragged Killian to the Tala Royal Palace, where the Emperor himself got a front-row seat to this glowing prodigy. The Emperor was low-key impressed that someone could chill through the divine beast's glow without turning into a crispy critter. He then ordered Hayden to bring his guild into Talawa's fold, and assigned Killian to the Talkin training unit. Hayden was over the moon. This moment basically rewrote his destiny. Thanks to Killian, the guild got a major upgrade, and Hayden inched closer to his dream of fixing the world. Fast forward a few years, and Killian's skills had outpaced even the Talkin training unit's curriculum, so he decided to level up solo mode. Hayden watched from the sidelines, proud but low-key sweating bullets about Killian's powers, possibly going off the rails. Then came Hayden's big break. He was appointed Talua's magic commander, and thought he had hit the peak. Plot twist. Killian landed the crown as leader of the White Talkin, the Empire's strongest unit. The kid Hayden saved just straight up eclipsed him, and yeah, Hayden was feeling salty about it. He still tried to call the shots, but he knew if he slipped up even a little, Killian would pull him down like a boss leveling up past his mentor. Killian changed Hayden's life, but Hayden was determined to stick close because in Talua, it was survival of the glowiest. That's why Hayden is hell-bent on succeeding where Killian failed, capturing Kella. After Arsol's fall, Hayden's position took a nosedive, and he's scrambling to regain his clout with Kella's life as the jackpot. Hayden's terrified that being overshadowed by Killian's power could totally wreck him, so he's ready to play his trump card, even if it means breaking the one rule he swore by, never getting tangled up with those messes again. Hayden trudges through the wilderness with a compass in hand that relentlessly points toward the spot where Tarsika's energy is most concentrated. It's ironic that he, the magic commander of Talua, now seeks out Tarsika, a race reviled by both demons and humans alike. Upon reaching the dense energy, he bites his thumb and lets drop his blood into the swirling power. Almost immediately, two hooded figures materialize before him. Hayden introduces himself without hesitation and demands an audience with their elder, showing the confidence of someone used to getting what he wants. The leader of Tarsika finds the situation amusing, amused that the magic commander of Talua would seek out those they have long scorned. Hayden boldly proposes an alliance to hunt down Kella Khaldun, presenting a clear goal that piques the leader's curiosity. When questioned about his gain, Hayden clarifies that all he wants is Kella's head, offering the body as a test subject for Tarsika's experiments. The leader muses that using Hayden himself might be more suitable, but Hayden reveals his trump card, the Lumina Aether, a powerful artifact gifted by the Emperor but rarely used due to its severe side effects on humans. This revelation shifts the leader's interest, though he remains reluctant to form true alliances, emphasizing that Tarsika exists solely to push the boundaries of magic and experimentation. However, Hayden ups the ante by warning that Kella's awakening demonic king powers could threaten their research, turning the hunt into a perfect opportunity to study Kella before he fully awakens. Intrigued and tempted by this prospect, the Tarsika leader agrees to a temporary partnership, but cautions Hayden that betrayal will be his undoing. Hayden, aware of the risks, is nonetheless pleased with the current success. Meanwhile, Kella and Skrills interrogate Caldera, who explains she tracked them using her mother's dagger, which can detect the location of anyone it has cut. This revelation stirs painful memories in Kella of Christe stabbing him as a child to track him whenever she wished, lending credibility to Caldera's story. Kella accepts this, and takes Chariste's sword from Caldera. She is visibly shocked that he calls her Chariste instead of mother, recalling how he used to cling to her for comfort, fueling her suspicion that this Kella is not truly her brother. To prevent further tracking, Kella takes the dagger from Caldera and asks her to leave, but Caldera insists she came all this way to find her brother. Skrills points out that Caldera was the one who led Hayden to their location, but Caldera feigns innocence, claiming she could not have come alone. She even grabs Kella in an attempt to assure him she only took Hayden along to reunite and crush their enemies together. Kella, however, sees through the act and bluntly tells her to get lost. In response, Caldera shrieks and clings to Rin, hoping to persuade her to speak on her behalf. Rin, unfazed and still remembering the pain Caldera has caused, draws her daggers and points them menacingly at Caldera's neck, signaling that the only help she'll offer is a swift death. Caldera, enraged at a mere servant daring to threaten her, is quickly silenced when Kella grabs her by the neck, furious at the insult to Rin. Surprised but resolute, Rin watches as Kella throws Caldera to the ground, warning her to stay away if she values her life. Defeated, Caldera scurries off. Rin blushes while thanking Kella, who once again reminds her that she is no longer a servant, leaving her completely smitten. Surreals wonders if they should truly let Caldera go, but Kella reasons that having another descendant of the great demon king alive will only sow chaos among humans. They decide to use Caldera as bait to divert Talua's attention, turning her into an unwitting decoy. Unbeknownst to them, Caldera considers Kella foolish for sparing her life. During her embrace with Rin, she secretly planted a magical spider on Rin's body, linking herself to Rin and allowing her to see and hear their every move. Confident in her dark strategy, Caldera believes Kella's greatest mistake was letting her live, and she is certain he will regret it in due time. Tarsika's leader confidently calls forward Krutuenthus, the crown jewel of their research, and declares that these three will be accompanying Hayden. Hayden is left utterly speechless. He can't even begin to rank these three. Their aura alone screams power far beyond the sixth circle, like bosses who skipped all the tutorial levels. It blows his mind that while Talawa was busy butting heads with the Demon King's bloodline, Tarsika quietly leveled up in the background like a stealth gamer. The leader, clearly basking in his own glory, orders them to take charge of their troops and chase down Kella alongside Hayden. Seraphine is all in, ready to follow orders to the letter like a true soldier. Kale's hyped just to be finally stepping outside. You know that guy who's been stuck in the basement for too long, and Luna just hums, probably thinking about her next snack break or something. Meanwhile, Hayden's confidence is skyrocketing. These three aren't just capable, they're the real deal to catch Kella, who's heading straight for the spooky graveyard. Kella and his crew reach the Blood Mist border, and Wood's shield, Guardy, is acting scared for the first time ever. Rhine, ever the hype queen, reminds Wood they've faced way worse, like Talkin and Hayden together, so chill out. She even finds it adorable that Wood named his shield and decides her dagger needs a name too. Kella watches this little exchange quietly, wondering if his own blade is secretly hiding some epic power like Wood's shield. Thanks to Roran's spell, he's managing Demon King's mana, but it's still like trying to fill a swimming pool with a teaspoon. He announces they'll rest tonight and cross the Blood Mist in the morning. Meanwhile, Killian restores his arm at the expense of every other mage in the room except for Curdley, who wisely advises him to call for backup if Ludwig tries to invade his mind. Killian, of course, is cocky and thinks no one can mess with his brain. Suddenly, a soldier barges in with the tea. Hayden tried to attack Kella, but only two badly hurt magicians came back, and Hayden's MIA. Killian's fist tightens like he's ready to throw down, while Curdley points out that Kella's power is growing way too fast. Killian orders her to summon the White Taken and track Kella from the last place he was spotted with Hayden, because tracking is apparently the new black. Early the next morning, Cyrils gathers everyone for a pep talk about the Blood Mist, reading hearts and testing if everyone's on the same page. Rin and Wood are chill, thinking it's no big deal since they all want to find the Demon King's crystal. Kella, though, admits they each have their own reasons. He's focused on mastering the Demon King's power. Cyrils wants stronger magic, but Cyrils quickly reminds everyone that protecting each other is the real goal. Rin and Wood vibe with that, so Kella figures as long as they all believe in the squad's motto, no problem will pop off. They step inside the mist, armed with trust and probably a bit of hope. But surprise, Kella finds himself alone inside the barrier. Everyone entered together, but now he's surrounded only by strange noises, probably the mist's version of a creepy soundtrack. When the fog clears a bit, he's hit with a shocker. A Demon King version of himself stares back, sitting on a throne made of bones. Talk about dark aesthetics. Kella can't help but wonder if he really wants to be the strongest Demon King, the one no one can defy, like the ultimate boss with zero chill. As if on cue, a mysterious mist creeps closer, promising to grant his deepest wish and offer great power if Kang Chiwu just follows the path. Kella is genuinely shocked when the mist calls him by his true name, Kang Chiwu, as if it knows him better than anyone else. The mist then reassures him once again, promising to grant the perfect world he longed for in his past life. Kella openly admits that he desires a flawless world, the very one he built with his own hands, and the mist only intensifies his longing. However, Kella feels uneasy about the future he glimpsed because he finally found real companions. He realizes there's little point in being the strongest if he ends up completely alone. The mist is surprised by his sudden defiance, while Kella loudly insists to everyone that it's all just an illusion. But the mist grows in power once more and traps him in a grasp he cannot break free from a second time. Meanwhile, Sriels is shown a future where Kella becomes the great Demon King after destroying Talua, while she herself rises to the rank of Archmage, reaching the pinnacle of magic. The mist paints her dreams with beautiful, enchanting images, and she becomes captivated by them. The same happens with Rin, who is shown a vision where she can have Kella all to herself, without Sirils in the picture. The mist asks her to follow it, and Rin extends her hand but then suddenly snaps out of it. The truth is, Rin has always loved Kella from the very first moment she saw him, the Kella who tried to befriend her even when she was just a servant. Now that Kella treats her as an equal and a true friend, Rin's feelings have only grown stronger. She wants to keep him by her side forever, but at the same time she wishes for everyone else to have a place with Kella as well. Rin loudly refuses to fall for such a cheap illusion. As if on cue, the petals that Roran gave her begin to glow and flutter in front of her. A beautiful, striking demon emerges, deeming Rin worthy to face her. Rin, confused at first, learns that the demon is Clarine, one of the swordswomen who fought alongside Turk Khaldun. Clarine explains that Rin will inherit her blades. Overwhelmed, Rin begins to cry at the thought of having the power to protect, but Clarine tells her to calm down because she will now reside within Rin's mind. Rin grabs the blades at Clarine's command and feels their names pop into her mind. One is called Dove, the other Raven. Clarine instructs Rin on how to wield their power, and Rin begins slashing through the mist like it's nothing more than cheap fabric. Finally, Rin finds herself outside the blood mist and urgently calls for Clarine. Instead of Clarine, she finds Kella, who looks confused that Rin dispelled the mist on her own. Rin happily explains her encounter with Clarine, and Kella asks her to calm down. Shreels and Wood praise Rin for her achievement, sensing the increase in her power. However, Rin is more interested in the kind of temptation Wood sensed in the mist. Wood is confused about what they're talking about since he was just walking until Rin cleared the mist. Kella and Rin are surprised that even the mist had nothing to tempt Wood with, perhaps because he has no desires at all. Kella worries about the part of himself that still wants to be the strongest, even if it means being alone. Shreels faces a similar struggle, unable to dispel the mist despite being a 6th circle mage. But since they all made it safely through the blood mist, it's time to move forward and head to Mortorum. Kella and the gang finally reach the entrance to Mortorum. Kella is visibly impressed by the grandeur of the structure, while Wood issues a grim warning about this place being the root of terror. Shreels reads the inscription, which essentially serves as a supernatural no trespassing sign, stating that only the Demon King's bloodline can pass through, while the living are flat out banned. Rin's immediate reaction is a wave of anxiety, interpreting it as a death sentence for the group. Yet Kella decides to test his magic on the door. The door reacts hostilely, threatening him, but Kella asserts his identity as the son of the great Demon King Hel Kaldon. The door acknowledges the royal blood but throws shade by calling Kella a half-blood, denying him entry. Kella snaps back mentally, wondering if being half-blood really mattered since Roran wouldn't have sent him otherwise. He powers up even more, demanding the gates open, confident that his magic is enough proof of his succession. In an unexpected twist, the door mistakes Kella's energy for Turk Kaldon's. Kella is taken aback, and even the door seems confused about how someone claiming to be Hel's son wields Turk's power. Despite this identity crisis, the door opens, granting them passage. Shreels suspects the door confused Kella for Turk, but Rin is convinced Kella has simply grown stronger. Meanwhile, Kella begins to suspect that the Turk who appeared in the abyss is connected to him, just as Shreels and Rin have ties to Turk's past allies, hinting at a deeper, tangled history. As the group steps into the graveyard, Kella advises everyone to stay alert. They encounter a vast number of lingering souls of the great demon kings, who instantly become aggressive upon spotting living intruders in their sacred grounds. Kella and others draw their weapons as the souls surround them. Kella tries communicating that they are only here to find the Demon King's crystal, but the souls scoff that he is not worthy to hold something so precious. Unlike the gate, these souls do not mistake him for Turk, so everyone starts attacking. Shreels unleashes her magic, Rin twirls her daggers with precision, and Wood braces behind his shield. Kella channels his magic attacks and feels a brief sense of victory, as his spells seem effective. However, the souls mock his efforts as foolish, reminding him that those made of flesh cannot harm them. Yet these spirits retaliate, striking Kella and drawing his blood. He retreats but notices his wounds aren't healing as they usually would. The souls intensify their assault, forcing Kella to vomit blood. Kella finds himself trapped in a nightmare where attacking and healing both fail him. Cereals is cornered as her 6th circle magic proves useless. Rin faces the same grim reality, but Wood's condition worsens as the souls begin to consume his very essence like it's candy. Rin shouts to snap him out of it, but the threat is overwhelming. Amid the chaos, a vengeful soul pierces Kella again with deadly intent to wipe out all living beings. Cereals calls out desperately for Kella, but he manages to urge Wood to hold on just a bit longer before becoming listless himself. The scene ends on a tense cliffhanger, leaving the fate of the gang hanging in the balance with the intensity of a high-stakes showdown. Kella finds himself swallowed by utter darkness, and naturally he starts wondering if this time he really kicked the bucket. He mopes around feeling like the ultimate fail. He wanted so badly to protect everyone, to build the world he dreamed of, but all he managed was a big old L. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a mysterious entity slaps him across the head. Not exactly the comforting welcome one hopes for in the afterlife, and scolds him for making the trip all the way to the Kingdom of Souls, just to die like a total noob. Kella calls out the entity as Turk Kaldun. The former Demon King laughs so hard it's like he just heard the best joke ever. Finally, someone who recognizes him. Then Turk reveals his demon form, flexing the whole "yeah, it's me" vibe. Kella expected no less, and immediately asks the burning question of how the heck is Turk inside his head anyway. Turk snaps back with the classic "I'm not just going to explain everything myself" attitude, leaving Kella wondering if some kind of binding spell is messing with him. But instead of a helpful answer, Turk roasts him for not being able to use dissonance yet, despite coming all this way like a mom disappointed her kid forgot to do their homework again. Kella's clueless, so Turk dishes out some more smacks, channeling serious angry parent energy. Finally, Kella snaps back, telling Turk to quit the drama and explain quickly because his friends are in danger. Turk breaks it down. Dissonance is basically the release of a soul's hidden power, and the power inside Kella is Turk's. It's like unlocking chains one by one that bind Kella's body. First, Kella snagged Hell's demonic energy and popped the first lock. Then, thanks to meeting Turk and a blessing from Roreen, the second lock came undone. Now Kella can use dissonance temporarily, but 2 more locks remain, and unlocking them all means total fusion with Turk, making Kella the strongest dude around. Turk throws down the gauntlet, unlock the seals, become the strongest, and create that world Kella's been dreaming about. Kella's suspicious. Why is Turk so helpful when he's from another world? But Turk shrugs it off, saying he's just trying to break free from this eternal cycle. If Kella can break all the seals, Turk can finally reach the true end of his soul. There's a cold, eerie vibe coming off Turk, making Kella wary, but desperate times call for desperate alliances. So he tells Turk to teach him dissonance. Turk begins pouring his power into Kella, explaining they're engraving their connection. With this, Kella can tap into 20% of Turk's power. Kella's clearly unimpressed by just 20%, but Turk assures him that even this much of his power is so wild that Kella's body is barely holding up. Kella reminds Turk that Demon King souls are immune to attacks from the living, but Turk smirks, asking if he looks alive. Mic drop. Kella finally gets the hint, and Turk tells him to wake up before he dies again. Boom. Kella wakes up a bloody mess, clutching the soul piercing through him. The soul mocks him for still resisting, but Kella isn't about to quit that easily. He channels every ounce of his power and slashes through the soul. The soul screeches like it just got roasted on a reality show, but Kella's just warming up. While the other souls are busy processing what just happened, Kella speeds through, cutting down the souls, cornering Srills and Rin like a boss. Then he zeroes in on the last one, the one clutching Wood. Once that soul is sliced to bits, Wood collapses, limp as a rag doll. The Demon King souls can't believe they got wrecked by a living being, totally shook. Little do they know Kella's body might be flesh and blood, but the magic he wields does not belong to the living. By tapping into Turk's mana through dissonance, Kella gains the power to slice through even the lingering souls like a hot knife through butter. Srills comes sprinting over, practically breathless, demanding to know how Kella pulled off that miracle move, while Rin, tears streaming down her face, showers him with thanks as she tends to Wood's injuries. Meanwhile, Kella's own wounds start knitting themselves back together at a rate that would make any medical miracle look like child's play, all thanks to this dissonance thing. Srills is still itching to get the full story, but Kella plays it cool, deciding it's a bit early to spill Turk's secrets. He credits Rorin's blessing for the boost, but Srills isn't buying it. She can tell Kella's hiding something juicier. With the lingering souls taken care of, the team shifts focus to tracking down the Demon King's crystal. Just then, Rin perks up at the sound of a tiny meow, turning around with a smile only to find a colossal creature with tiny wings chilling nearby. The kitten speaks, greeting them as a local resident. Kella, ever the skeptic, wonders if she's another lingering soul, but the cat assures him she's just the guard of this place. When Rin calls her gigantic, the cat laughs it off, explaining she used to be a cute little furball but blew up after absorbing mana for centuries, kind of like how some people get after quarantine snacks. She says she knows they're tired and even understands their mission, so she invites them to hang out. Surfu doesn't buy the cat's chill vibe and voices his suspicions, which the cat immediately calls out as hurting her feelings. Rin, smitten beyond reason, pushes Kella to follow the cat since Wood's hurt and all. Kella sighs and decides to go along. What choice does he have? They follow the cat underground, arriving at a swanky, lavishly decorated area that even impresses Kella enough to start jotting down dungeon design notes. The cat proudly shows off her digs and leads them to a dining table piled with food. Rin is about to dive in head first, but Kella hits the brakes, reminding her and everyone else that living folks can't chow down on food from the land of the dead. Looks like everyone forgot Rin's warning, and Kella's the party pooper who had to remind them. Meanwhile, the chubby cat seems pretty pleased. They pass the final and toughest test. Curious, Kella asks what would have happened if they'd eaten the food. The cat cheerfully replies they'd have become her snack instead. Yikes. Despite that grim prospect, Kella has proven his worth by surviving the blood mist, wiping out the lingering souls of the great demon kings, and resisting temptation, basically earning a gold star in this spooky realm. So the cat hands over the demon king's crystal to Kella, who can hardly believe how smoothly it went down. Then reality kicks in. Without Rorin and Turk, he wouldn't have made it, and without his trusty companions, crossing the blood mist would have been a no-go. So yeah, nothing about this was easy. Srills, Rin, and Wood all feel the immense power radiating from the crystal, but Kella still wonders why the cat would hand over something so valuable, especially since they just wiped out the lingering souls of the demon kings. The cat explains that what they did was actually an act of kindness. The lingering souls crave eternal annihilation. Srills nods, catching on as the cat elaborates. When living beings enter the mortuorum, lingering souls lash out in desperation, begging for destruction. But since one lingering soul can only fight one person at a time, the rest are stuck in limbo forever, unable to find peace. Kella realizes that those souls endured suffering for who knows how long, but the cat tells him not to feel guilty. He granted them the peace they longed for. Still, Kella can't shake the thought. Is this what Turk meant by eternal rest? Does Turk himself seek eternal annihilation, using Kella as a vessel for his own escape? The question lingers, heavy and unsettling, like a plot twist waiting to drop. Kella can't help but wonder if Turk's ultimate goal is just eternal annihilation, and if he's basically using him like some cosmic pawn for that dark quest. Meanwhile, Rin's feeling all kinds of sad vibes, thinking about how this cat has been solo for centuries. The cat casually drops that she's been guarding the crystal for over 500 years, basically the ultimate long haul of dedication. Flashback to when the cat was feeling down, thinking Sylvandra was leaving someone as small as him all alone. But Sylvandra, the ultimate beauty, shut that down by saying he's way too big to be called tiny. Then she went full hype mode, claiming only this particular cat could properly guard the Demon King's crystal. The cat suspects maybe she's just trying to ghost him because he's a nuisance. But nope, Sylvandra hugs him tight, showing her sorrow runs even deeper. She asks if he can handle the job, and the cat straight up admits he's no hero, totally doubting he can carry such a heavy responsibility. Sylvandra swooped in as the ultimate savior, rescuing him on the brink of death and blessing him with happiness he never knew existed. The cat didn't want to leave her side but agreed to take on the duty for her sake. Sylvandra praised his reluctant bravery and promised she'll come back one day. The cat reflects on those painfully lonely years. But hey, it was a job only he could do. When Rin gets all misty-eyed, the cat lightens the mood by pointing out that humans and demons occasionally pass through, but the humans flopped the test thanks to their greed, and the demons were just not cut out to possess the Demon King's crystal. He wonders what would have happened if Turk showed up, but apparently no dice. From whispers of lingering souls, Turk is known as the strongest of all great demon kings. Talk about legendary status. Next, the cat tells Kella to slap the crystal on his back, triggering some intense merging magic. Kella immediately feels like his hand is on fire, the crystal practically forcing itself into his grip. He screams, probably louder than a horror movie victim, and suddenly finds himself face to face with an unknown demon king. Kella wonders if the crystal belonged to this old man, but when Turk pops in like a surprise guest at a party, confirming Kella's guess, Turk starts chatting with the old man, explaining the crystal born from him has returned to the world. He admits to borrowing another's soul, but accepts the crystal to let the great demon king's power rise again. Kella tries to get a word in, but Turk straight up ignores him and just yells for Kella to accept the crystal's power. No small talk allowed. Turns out, Turk's been thirsting for the crystal since forever, and is now desperately trying to reclaim his crown. Back in reality, Kella's power surges like a boss. Srulz is shook because Kella's flexing strength that even outshines their father's. Rin and Wood are low-key impressed too, breaking their usual poker faces. Kella wonders if he's finally leveled up past hell itself. Talk about next-level glow-up. Realizing he's now rocking the Demon King's crystal, something no one else can claim, he knows it's time to train harder and get stronger. The stakes are sky-high because now he just might have a shot at beating Turk himself. Srulz can't help but wonder if Kella's body can really handle this insane surge of power without going kaboom, while Wood casually points out that just standing near Kella has his whole body doing an involuntary shake like he's in an earthquake drill. The cat explains that if Kella wasn't worthy of being a great demon king, his body would have exploded the moment he touched the crystal. Rin gets all hyped up, convinced that Kella was destined to be king from day one, basically calling him the chosen one with no cap. But the cat throws a reality check. Whether Kella rises as a mighty demon king or just ends up a glorified wannabe is totally on him. With that, the cat's mission is done, and he decides it's time for a well-deserved nap because even legendary cats need their beauty sleep. Rin's worried he's about to be solo again, but the cat reassures her that he's just resting while waiting for his master. Naturally, Kella's curious about what kind of master a cat like this would wait for, and asks for the cat's name. The cat gets all nostalgic, reminiscing about when Sylvandra gave him the name Arkan, which made him happier than a cat with unlimited catnip. Arkan shares his name with Kella and the crew, emphasizing that this name is the greatest gift he's ever received. After sending all the best wishes for their journey, Arkan turns into stone, leaving Kella thankful and Sigurd feeling a bit guilty for ever doubting him. Rin quietly wishes Arkan a peaceful sleep, giving a moment of calm before the storm. Armed with the crystal, Kella asks Wood to scout out a good spot to build their dungeon, but hunger quickly crashes the party. Srulz and Rin are starving, no patience for delay. Wood locates a village-sized settlement nearby, and Srulz, not one to waste time, decides to teleport them there with magic like a boss. They land a bit away to avoid raising eyebrows and decide to walk the rest of the way trying to keep a low profile. Once inside the village of Benicia, they witness a brutal scene, demons getting beaten by humans who show zero mercy, not even to kids. If anyone talks back, the humans just burn them to a crisp with their magic like it's some cruel barbecue party. Rin and Srulz are clearly pissed off, but Kella's fury is on another level. He's triggered by the sound of a crying child, which drags up painful memories of being abused by his drunk father. There's no way Kella can forgive anyone treating a child like they're garbage. Turns out these humans are sick enough to be using the blood of different species for twisted experiments. The Heaven Guild's vice commander Dronzer is obsessed with extracting the magic essence from young demon blood, planning to purify it with forbidden magic so he can become the most powerful being in the world. One magician dares to object, but Dronzer shuts him down cold, asking if he's feeling sorry for the demons. Dronzer orders a ruthless roundup of every demon, no exceptions, not even children or infants. As the Heaven Guild soldiers follow these brutal orders, Kella reveals himself, and everyone immediately recognizes him as an S-grade bounty, basically a walking jackpot. They start planning how to capture him for the huge reward, but Kella isn't about to let the adults bully the kids without consequences. He tells the humans to brace themselves like the adults they claim to be. Time for some serious payback. Kella throws the punch with such force that the mage literally loses his pixels, a glitch in the matrix. And it's not just him, every single guild member nearby gets the same pixelated treatment, like someone hit the reset button on them. After this one-sided boxing match, Kella drops the savage line that these scums aren't even worthy of a blade. Apparently, only his fists are good enough. The remaining humans start questioning their intel because everyone thought Kella was supposed to be weak, but the Demon King's heir glares at them like a boss and pummels them into pulp while throwing major shade on their outdated, slow-to-update intel. Someone should tell these guys to upgrade their spy software stat. Almost like taking notes in a crash course, one mage quickly alerts Dronzer about Kella showing up at their gates. Dronzer instantly lights up, thinking he's just received a home-delivered perfect ingredient for his twisted recipe. Kella proceeds to tear the whole place down because these Heaven Guild losers also had the nerve to attack him while he was escaping the Demon King's castle. He's in disbelief that this pile of trash is supposed to be the strongest guild in the human world, and decides this is the perfect moment to uproot them completely. This is spring cleaning on a whole new level. Dronzer makes his grand entrance, dripping with all the glory he can muster, but Kella has no clue who this so-called big shot is. A minion whispers that they are in the presence of Dronzer, and Rin perks up like she just heard the name of a legendary villain. Turns out this guy's a notorious criminal since Turk's time, basically a mad scientist who's been experimenting on his own body to cheat death for way too long. Rin looks worried, and Wood immediately notices the shift in her vibe. Kella wastes no time and gets straight to the point, asking Dronzer about his demon child hunt. The minion instantly burns with rage, but Dronzer coolly explains he's gathered magic from all sorts of species and just needs the final ingredient, demon blood, to become immortal. This dude's got such delusions of grandeur, fantasizing about guzzling demon children's blood to rule the world. From this brief chat, Kella can tell this guy has completely lost it. So naturally, Kella punches him so hard he crashes into the wall like a ragdoll. Then Kella stands tall like a true demon overlord above the mage minions and knocks them out in a blink. Kella actually wants Dronzer to suffer properly because this trash deserves to pay for the demon children's peace. Just as Dronzer tries to open his mouth to talk, Kella cuts him off and starts beating him up like he's cracking eggs. Only this cake is going to be all pain and no sugar. Dronzer is internally fuming because sure, he's absorbed magic from countless species, but Kella's not even giving him a chance to flex that power. Meanwhile, Wood reassures Rin that there's no need to worry now. Rin's in disbelief that the same Dronzer they once feared turned out to be a total joke in front of Kella, which just proves how much Kella's leveled up after getting the Demon King's crystal power. Talk about glow up. With Kella's punchline, the entire demon community sheds tears of joy, celebrating that the descendant of the great Demon King has come to their rescue. They start cheering like it's a festival, full of gratitude. One little kid runs up to Kella and he picks her up, assuring her that fear is a thing of the past. Seeing all the demons so happy, Searle announces it's time for a round of drinks. Even Rin joins the party vibes, despite the fact they haven't lifted a finger yet. As the village basks in the celebration, Seraphine watches from the shadows. Intrigued by Kella's unusual and interesting powers, she orders Kale and Luna to get the operation started, hinting that some serious moves are about to go down behind the scenes. The whole village switches into full-on celebration mode, with Rin and Searles already well past the point of no return, wasted beyond help. Wood tries to assure Kella that his nature-based powers make him immune to getting drunk, but Kella can clearly see that Searles has been force-feeding him drinks like it's some twisted duty. Then tiny demon kids approach Kella, asking to touch his cool horns, and of course Kella indulges them, feeling a rare wave of pure innocence radiate from these little souls. He can hardly believe that the Heaven Guild had the audacity to prey on beings this innocent. The village elder steps up, thanking Kella but immediately turning the mood serious, asking what the next move is. Even if Dronzer is down for the count, the Heaven Guild's army will surely come back for round 2. Kella nods, admitting their worries are legit. Someone suggests relocating to another region, but the kids might not survive the harsh journey. Kella pauses, then drops the mic with a better plan. They're going to build a dungeon so terrifying that no human would dare step foot in it. The demon folk are skeptical, thinking it's impossible, but Kella convinces them this feat must be done for the sake of their children's safety. He promises to protect them, and the demons can barely believe Kella would accept them so wholeheartedly. He points out that building this dungeon will require everyone's strength, and the demons eagerly rally behind him, cheering like he's their rock star leader. Kella hypes them up like a true boss. Srills slurs out that this plan benefits both sides, while Rin calls Kella the hope of the demon folk. But Kella isn't aiming for grand titles, he simply wants to protect everyone. Srills and Rin start playing with the kids, laughter filling the air, and Wood volunteers to be the guard, claiming sobriety. Kella thanks him in advance. Once the quarters are prepared, Kella decides it's time to catch some much-needed shut-eye. As he rests, he wishes peaceful moments like this could last forever, and reflects that building the dungeon might be the key to maintaining this fragile peace. But as night falls and the village falls drunken asleep, the scene shifts dark. Tarsica appears, revealing that they've cast a sleep spell on everyone, and dragged them into an abyssal dream. Luna confidently states no one will wake for 2 full days, not even Wood, who's apparently fallen under her sleep magic. Seraphine lays out the plan to capture the rest after dealing with Kella. Kella expresses a desire to experiment on a live Kella, but Seraphine dismisses the idea, saying Kella's power is too great to capture him alive. The trio silently enters Kella's room, finding him fast asleep. Seraphine coldly declares that his body will serve as a fine specimen for Tarsica's future, then attacks. Kella jolts awake, instantly spotting the 3 strangers, but his first problem is the weapon embedded in his body, until he suddenly vanishes into thin air, solving that issue. Seraphine immediately recognizes the move as an illusion, but before they can react, Srills pops out of nowhere, revealing she created the illusion the moment they arrived. Sensing suspicious mana, she set the illusion as soon as the party started, meaning Rin and Wood's drunken antics were also fake. Seraphine is impressed by the quality of the illusion magic, but Srills can tell that these foes have an ace up their sleeve. Seraphine casually states that illusion magic was anticipated in their plan, so the outcome remains unchanged. Luna and Kale agree, preferring this approach over assassination. Srills, however, is visibly shaken by the strength of these villains. Srills immediately picks up on the bizarre power radiating from the group, and with curiosity sharp as ever, wonders what kind of shady business Tarsica has with demons. But Seraphine doesn't feel the least bit obliged to spill the tea. Meanwhile, Kale tells Srills to cry and beg for mercy if she's feeling scared, like some sort of dramatic soap opera scene. But Srills isn't having any of that. She powers up fiercely, ready to squeeze answers out of them no matter what. She unleashes her abyss chamber, sealing the whole place with a dark magic so thick you could cut it with a butter knife. Kale, instead of running scared, actually gets hyped, and even Luna can't help but comment that the spell is impressively refined for a 6th circle mage. Then Srills pulls a disappearing act, vanishing from sight, and Kale's excitement dial cranks up to 11. Luna also wants to learn this slick move to boost her own street cred, but Seraphine, always the businesswoman, sniffs out the scent of blood like a bloodhound on steroids, and uses it to track Srills down, attacking right where her nose leads her. Srills barely dodges, dumbfounded that she's been tracked by nothing more than the smell of blood magic she's never even heard of before. Kale then lunges at Srills like a Logan wannabe, but she dodges again, only to find the wound he leaves behind is laced with poison. Suddenly, her vision warps, hallucinations dance around her like a bad trip, and she realizes the poison is messing with her mind big time. She fights back with dark purification to cleanse herself, but before she can catch her breath, Luna arrives with a powerful attack. Sirivs blocks it, but notices something terrifying. The trio is rocking a combo attack, seamlessly blending poison and magic like a deadly DJ set on point. Thinking fast, Srills conjures clones of herself using abyssal division magic. Kale's jaw drops while Seraphine remarks that the spell even copied the blood scent. Talk about attention to detail. Luna tries to mess with their minds using her mental magic, but finds all the clones are broadcasting the same mental wavelength, making her attack useless. Srills, feeling a bit smug, explains that these aren't your average illusions. These are tangible clones crafted from abyssal power. She throws a jab at Tarsica's magic, asking if it can even do something this cool. Luna, clearly offended, fires back that Sudyus is just a test subject. Seraphine is done playing games and uses one move to obliterate all the fake copies, leaving only the original Sudyus standing. She remarks that everything is back to her expectations, but Sudyus grits her teeth, knowing full well that these enemies are tougher than she initially thought. Kale, fueled by excitement, launches himself again like a caffeinated Spider-Man, but Srishid senses the danger and shatters the dark room with a powerful impact. The blast halts the trio for a moment, and as they come to their senses, Kella and her crew appear in front of them. Kale jumps around like a kid on a sugar rush, but the ladies quickly point out that Srishid's just bought time to analyze their abilities. Srills, now radiating confidence, asks if this whole situation was part of Seraphine's master plan. The woman with glasses hesitates, stuttering ever so slightly, betraying her attempt to lie, but she remains stubborn, insisting there's nothing in this world she can't predict. Kella feels the overwhelming surge of power emanating from Seraphine as she boldly declares that Krutuinthus will only be taking back corpses, no survivors allowed. Kella immediately grasps the gravity of the situation. If even Tarsica's elite squad has their sights set on him, things have just gone from bad to apocalyptic. Without missing a beat, he declares he'll take on the one with the glasses, while Srills claims dibs on Luna, leaving Rin and Wood to handle Kale. Kella moves with purpose, clearly wanting to wrap this up quickly and back up his teammates. But Seraphine meets his assault with an eerie display, blood streaks slicing through the air like crimson lightning. It catches Kella off guard for a moment. Clearly he didn't expect this kind of close-quarters finesse. Seraphine points out that while Kella is a beast in close combat, and his raw magic power outstrips hers, mana is totally irrelevant against her blood magic mastery. Then she unleashes her signature move, blood snakes slithering out to grasp Kella from multiple angles. Kella swings his mana-charged sword to cut them down, only to find the blood reshaping and regenerating like some terrifying liquid nightmare. Seraphine knows this is Kella's first encounter with blood magic, so he hasn't learned how to counter it yet. Kella is visibly shocked. He can't believe Seraphine analyzed his combat style and adapted her spells in real time. This is no ordinary mage. This is someone playing 4D chess while everyone else is stuck on checkers. Meanwhile, Sauls goes on the offensive against Luna, but her magic hits an unexpected barrier. Sauls senses a strange power emanating directly from Luna's staff, which hums ominously as Luna summons a radiant light dragon. Sauls blocks the beast's attacks with abyssal magic, but it's clear the staff is infused with a dragon's aura, a magical system completely foreign to her. Luna commands the dragon to bite harder, and the sheer force shatters Shriel's barrier, leaving her vulnerable. Seizing the moment, Luna orders the dragon to go wild, turning the fight into a nightmare for the 6th Circle mage trying to keep up. In the meantime, Kale is absolutely living his best life, attacking Rin and Wood with reckless glee. Rin tries to counterattack, but Kale's snarky dismissal of her efforts is like a slap in the face. He shows her exactly how it's done, and Rin crashes to the ground with a brutal impact. Wood notices something important. Rin used her body to block the attack, saving her precious daggers from melting. Rin cries out in pain, but Kale just laughs, promising his next move will hurt even more. Suddenly, poison rains down from Kale's attack, but Wood raises his shield to protect them both. The problem? That shield is melting fast, and Rin is left clueless about their next move. Meanwhile, Kale only gets more dangerous by the second, leaving Rin and Wood totally backed into a corner. Back to Kella. He manages to fling the blood snakes away, but Seraphine instantly analyzes that this move drains an insane amount of mana. Translation: Kella can only pull off this magic trick a few more times, while Seraphine can effortlessly keep creating more blood snakes like it's a casual Tuesday. Realizing the stakes, Kella decides he needs to take out at least one of her grimoires to stop her from pulling unknown spells out of thin air. He can barely hold on for 3 minutes, but he pulls the trigger and uses dissonance to snatch one of her grimoires. Seraphine notes his magical power spike, but of course this was all playing out exactly as she predicted. With perfect timing, she traps Kella inside a blood cage, stopping him dead in his tracks before he can get close. It's like she's reading the playbook and rewriting it on the fly.